Huh, guess what? Yiling Xue felt something was wrong. A very ominous premonition washed over her. She looked down at her leg and saw that where she'd felt the prick just now, a little bit of blood was seeping out, staining her dress. And when she raised her head again, she saw Yin Lingwen holding out his palm. Between his index and middle fingers was a small needle head that hadn't been there before. You, what is this? Yiling Xue felt her heart was about to leap in her throat. That ominous premonition grew stronger and stronger. But Yin Lingwen just watched Yiling Xue quietly, not saying a word, a strange smile on his lips that sent a chill down her spine. Smack! Yiling Xue slammed the table, stood up, and said coldly, I'm leaving. Yiling Xue took a few steps. Just then, her legs suddenly went weak. Her legs had suddenly lost all feeling. Her eyes widened. Without the support of her legs, her body pitched forward uncontrollably. Thud! Then, she fell directly to the ground. The fall made her gasp in pain, and she bit her lip. This. Yiling Xue came to her senses, opened her eyes, and enduring the pain, reached out to touch her legs. There was truly no sensation at all now. She couldn't feel their existence. She wanted to stand up, but couldn't. Her legs wouldn't obey her at all. At that moment, Yin Lingwen's voice drifted over slowly. Tisk TSK. What's wrong? Tired from shopping? Or too sleepy? You can't sleep here. There's a bed next door. Shall I take you? Yin Lingwen slowly rose, tapping his fingers on the tabletop. At this moment, that kind smile was completely gone, replaced by a bone-chillingly eerie grin. Yiling Xue was truly frightened now. She had fallen into a trap. Everything, all of it, was an act by Yin Lingwen. What caring for her feelings, being considerate of her difficulties, cheering her up, understanding her pain, playing along with her vigilance. It was all fake, all an act. Yiling Xue's face flushed red, completely red with anger. At the same time, anxiety, worry, fear, and anger piled up, making her body tremble uncontrollably. Yin Lingwen, you're not human. You bastard. A beast in human form. You faked all of this just to trick me. Yiling Xue screamed, on the verge of a breakdown. Seeing Yin Lingwen approaching her step by step, tears were already welling in the corners of her eyes. That's right. Isn't this fun? Ha ha ha. Yin Lingwen spread his hands, laughing maniacally. Then, he walked up to Yiling Xue, squatted down, and grabbed her by the hair, yanking her head up. This. Yiling Xue reached up, grabbing Yin Lingwen's wrist, clenching her teeth in pain, but there was nothing she could do. If she tried to pull his hand away, her own hair would be torn out. First, I'll let you lower your guard step by step. Watch you trust me more and more, and then I deliver a heavy blow, letting you fall from hope into despair. Isn't that fun? You bastard. Beast. Worse than an animal. Yiling Xue cursed, but her body trembled more violently, terrified to the extreme. Yin Lingwen, instead of getting angry, laughed. Ha, good. Curse at me like this on the bed later. I'd love to hear it. Every time I see a woman's desperate face, that face of having no will to live, those eyes as if her heart has died, it just gets me going. Now that's fun. It was over. Yiling Xue could already imagine what she was about to go through. It was a hell worse than death. Not only would her body be violated, but her mind, her soul, would suffer wounds that could never heal. Right now, she truly felt like dying. Yiling Xue hadn't given up yet. She quickly fumbled in her bag for her phone. She had a call for help. Help! Yiling Xue had just typed one word when Yin Lingwen suddenly stood up and kicked at her hands. Smack! Yin Lingwen's kick hit Yiling Xue's hands. She cried out in pain, and the phone flew from her grasp, kicked to the side. She had only typed one word. Who she was sending it to, whether it had been sent, she hadn't seen. This time, it was truly over. Yin Lingwen's cold eyes stared intently at Yiling Xue, a hint of killing intent within them. Yiling Xue started to crawl towards the door, struggling. She knew screaming was useless. This was Yin Lingwen's territory. No one could save her. But she was still unwilling to give up. Seeing Yin Lingwen like this, he probably didn't intend to let her go. It was impossible that he would let her go back and call the police after violating her, which meant her chances of survival were slim. She still had her mother to take care of, a pregnant best friend to look after, and her aging grandparents to care for her. They all still needed her. She couldn't just end it all here. TSK, you really are tough. Most girls would be so desperate by now, they wouldn't even move. A strong girl, I don't dislike it. Yin Lingwen squatted down, reached out, and grabbed Yiling Xue's dress. Rip! The hem of her dress was instantly torn apart by Yin Lingwen's brute force. Her thighs were exposed. Yu Lingxue turned to face Yin Lingwen, gritting her teeth and clawing at him with both hands. Yin Lingwen directly grabbed her wrists. He flexed his arms, trying to control her. After struggling for a while, Yu Lingxue simply had no strength left. How could a woman like her be stronger than Yin Lingwen? Yin Lingwen used just one hand to pull both of Yu Lingxue's hands above her head, pinning them tightly to the floor. Then, with his other hand, he grabbed her throat. Cough, cough. Yu Lingxue immediately felt a retching sensation, coughed violently twice, her face instantly turning red from the lack of air. Damn it, you got some fight in you, huh? Yin Lingwen was also panting from the exertion. Then, he released his hand from her throat and pulled the leather belt from his waist. Then, he used the belt to tie Yu Lingxue's wrists tightly. Don't want a drink, do you? Fine. Yin Lingwen stood up and walked over to the room's wine cabinet. He took out a bottle of red wine, opened it, walked over to Yu Lingxue, and squatted down. Open your mouth. He grabbed Yu Lingxue's cheeks with one hand, forced her mouth open, and then poured the entire bottle of red wine in. Cough, 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 cough. Yu Lingxue turned her head to the side, vomiting out the red wine. Even her nose was choked with it. All that wine forced down her throat nearly choked her to death. Madman. This person was a madman. Ugh. Cough, cough. Yu Lingxue was still coughing violently, unable to stop, and at the same time felt a fiery, burning sensation in her throat. Was that fun? Was it fun? Ha ha. Yin Lingwen pinched Yu Lingxue's cheeks, turning her head to face him, and stared viciously into her eyes. Yu Lingxue couldn't hold it in any longer. Tears streamed uncontrollably down her cheeks. Just do whatever you want. Stop torturing me. Yu Lingxue's tears flowed endlessly. Her eyes, filled with hatred, stared at Yin Lingwen. If looks could kill, Yu Lingxue's gaze would have torn him to shreds. No, 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 that's no fun. Didn't I tell you? I want to see you. In despair. That's when I feel the most pleasure. Yin Lingwen's lips curved upward into a wicked smile, his fingers pinching Yu Lingxue's face red. Just then, Yin Lingwen seemed to think of something. He squinted, his smile growing ever more bizarre. He leaned in close to Yu Lingxue's ear and spoke softly. After I'm done with you, I'll send a letter to your mother in your name, saying you despise her for being poor and that she's not worthy of being your mother, so you should never contact each other again. Then, I'll use our business partnership as leverage to have your dad cut off all your mother's medical care, and let her go home quietly to wait for death. In an instant, Yu Lingxue seemed to turn to stone. Her eyes were wide, her mouth slightly agape, her expression frozen in place. Only the tears continued to flow, her pupils trembling slightly. Hey, that's it, just like that. Ha ha. Seeing Yu Lingxue like this, Yin Lingwen burst out laughing so hard he could barely breathe. However, Yin Lingwen had no intention of stopping there. He continued, Don't worry, I'll let you watch your mother die a painful death. I'll let you see the hatred in her eyes, see her regret ever giving birth to you, and finally, see her die of grief and despair. How about that? Isn't it fun? Yu Lingxue's psychological defenses were completely shattered. Her head slumped to the side, a little more red wine dribbling from her mouth, her tears never stopping. Her eyes were vacant, as if completely empty, her mind either a blank slate or lost in thought. That's it. This is the state I wanted. This is the best part. Finally, Yu Lingxue. Oh, Yu Lingxue, you finally fall into my hands. If you have to blame someone, blame that freeloader father of yours. He's the one who personally delivered you to me. Yin Lingwen was almost overcome with excitement, his whole body trembling slightly. Looking at Yu Lingxue lying on the floor, her hands limp, her eyes vacant, her expression numb, as if she were already dead, he became even more excited. Come on, let me have a good taste of you. Yin Lingwen bent down, reaching out, ready to touch Yu Lingxue's body. Who's there? What are you doing? You can't go in. Get lost. Just then, he suddenly heard voices from outside, seemingly the shouts of a waiter. Yin Lingwen lifted his head, looking quizzically at the door. Then, he heard noises from outside. Bang! Crack! A few screams were followed by the sound of bodies hitting the floor. Boom! Next came a massive crash. The private room door seemed to have been hit with great force, shaking violently. Yin Lingwen frowned, realizing something was wrong, and stood up, staring at the door. A man's furious roar came from the doorway, and the next second, bang! The private room door burst open, crashing to the ground. Standing in the doorway was a man, panting heavily. His face was as dark as storm clouds, his shoulders trembling slightly as if he was trying to control his emotions. Yet the tense muscles and throbbing veins betrayed his inner turmoil. He walked in slowly, his steps heavy and forceful, each one seeming to leave an imprint of anger on the floor. His presence made the air in the room tense. Yu Lingxue seemed to snap back to reality in an instant, awakened by the loud noise. She looked towards the door and saw the man who had walked in. In a moment, her eyes flashed with surprise, and even joy. Bye. Cough, cough. She had just started to speak when she was choked by the remaining red wine in her throat and started coughing. Yin Lingwen tilted his head, looked at the man at the door, let out a short, cold laugh, and said, I was wondering who it was. Isn't this Bai Cong, the great young master Bai? The newcomer was none other than the eldest son of Juanheng Group's vice president, the first heir of the renowned Bai family of Dongzhu, Bai Cong. Bai Cong glanced at Yu Lingxue lying on the floor. At this moment, she was in a wretched state. The hem of her skirt was torn, her fair thighs exposed, but because she had no feeling in them, she couldn't cover herself. There was red wine on the corners of her mouth and on the floor. Her eyes were red from crying, filled with tears. Her face was flushed, and her wrists were tightly bound by a belt, so tight that her hand were turning a little purple from the lack of circulation. Seeing this, Bai Cong's eyes narrowed, his gaze becoming a bottomless black. The temperature in the room seemed to drop with his fury. His hands were clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His breathing grew heavier, each breath like a preparation for an explosion. What brings young Master Bai here? You don't look like you're here for dinner. Or perhaps you've come to reminisce with me. An old elementary school classmate. Yin Lingwen slowly backed away. Then, from behind the curtains in the room, he pulled out a metal baseball bat. Bai Cong sneered and said lightly, the person unanimously recognized as the biggest pervert in our entire elementary school class has the nerve to speak? Don't you know everyone hated you? Yin Lingwen snorted. Takes one to know one, doesn't it? How many boyfriends have you had? Can you still hold your shit in? Ha ha. Bai Cong wasn't provoked in the slightest. He clenched his fists and said softly, I'll beat you until you can't hold your shit in. Don't you worry. Yin Lingwen frowned and said in a low voice, you really dare to hit me? You're willing to make an enemy of the Lingwen group? Ah, you really think the Bai family of Dongzhu is a pushover? TCH. Yin Lingwen clicked his tongue. He knew Bai Cong was right. The Bai family's power in Dongzhu was not to be underestimated. Don't be fooled by his father being just a vice president of Juanheng. The weight of this vice presidency was something Yu Yinghai, also a vice president, couldn't compare to. Outside of Juanheng, he was an absolute big shot, whereas Yu Yinghai was nothing once he left Juanheng. In any case, Bai Cong's family was truly strong enough to contend with their Lingwen group, and they wouldn't back down. Is Yu Lingxue really worth all this? You like her? What? You don't like men anymore. Yin Lingwen toyed with the baseball bat in his hand, tilting his chin up as he spoke mockingly. Is there any need to talk so much to a pervert? Bai Cong started to take off his jacket. Underneath, he was wearing a short-sleeved shirt. Although not as bulky as Zhou Heng and not looking particularly strong, his muscles were very well defined. You could see he wasn't huge, but he looked very solid. Then Bai Cong threw his jacket down, covering Yu Lingxue's legs. He shot her a look, a faint smile on his lips. Treat me to a meal after this is over. That's not too much to ask, right? In an instant, Yu Lingxue's little heart began to beat faster, as if her soul had been touched. She cleared her throat, struggling to produce a hoarse sound. Oh, okay. A meal. You should go home and eat that guy's DCK. Yin Lingwen suddenly roared, lunging forward. The metal baseball bat, whistling through the air, swung with full force at Bai Cong. Thud! A dull thud echoed as the bat slammed hard against Bai Cong's arm. Bai Cong's body shuddered, and he swayed to the side. But that was it. He didn't even move his feet. He just sniffed, frowned, gritted his teeth, and didn't even make a sound. Yin Lingwen's eyes widened in disbelief, staring at Bai Cong. His bat was solid. He hit Bai Cong with all his strength, and he didn't even move. What was with this guy? Did he not feel pain? Put some muscle into it. Didn't you have breakfast? Oh, I forgot. You're just a weakling who only knows how to bully women, a coward who would cry for his mommy when getting a shot as a kid. Bai Cong spoke slowly, his tone filled with disdain. Oh, we'll see if your mouth is tougher, or if this bat of mine is. Yin Lingwen was successfully enraged, his face flushing red. He raised the bat and swung it at Bai Cong's face. But Bai Cong quickly moved forward, thrusting out his fist and punching him hard in the stomach. Thump! The punch landed solidly. Yin Lingwen's face instantly turned pale, his features contorted in agony. He doubled over, clutching his stomach, almost unable to straighten up. See? I told you. Still just as scared of pain. Baitsong snatched the bat from Yin Lingwen's hand and tossed it aside. He disdained using such a thing. He had to beat Yin Lingwen to a pulp with his bare fist to vent his anger. Then Baitsong kicked Yin Lingwen to the ground, straddled him, clenched his fists, and punched him in the face again and again. Thump, thump, ah! Each punch made Yin Lingwen scream in pain. His legs thrashed, and his fists flailed wildly at Baitsong. But Baitsong didn't make a sound, just gritting his teeth, unmoving. His hands didn't stop, continuously pummeling Yin Lingwen's face. Get off! Go to hell! Go to hell! Go to hell! You damn FG! Yin Lingwen screamed in agony, tears welling in the corners of his eyes. His punches had no effect on Baitsong. Instead, they just made his own hands hurt. Shut up! You damn pervert! Baitsong punched Yin Lingwen directly in the mouth, making him howl loudly. Hey, come quick! Protect the young master. Just then, 5 or 6 men burst in from outside. Seeing Baitsong straddling Yin Lingwen and beating him, they rushed over. The 5 or 6 men tried to pull Baitsong off, but Baitsong's hands were clamped tightly around Yin Lingwen's neck. The harder they pulled, the harder Baitsong squeezed. Gag! Yin Lingwen was being choked so hard his tongue was sticking out. He slapped the floor frantically, struggling like a fish out of water. Seeing this wasn't working, the men let go of Baitsong and stopped trying to pull him off. Instead, they started punching and kicking him. Baitsong's body was being pummeled by 5 or 6 pairs of fists and feet, making his body shake, but he kept his mouth shut, gritting his teeth so hard the veins on his temples bulged. Even so, Baitsong continued to beat Yin Lingwen relentlessly. His eyes were fixed only on Yin Lingwen, with a single purpose, to beat him viciously. Yin Lingwen was on the verge of losing consciousness, his face beaten askew, saliva mixed with blood dribbling from his mouth. His arrogance had been beaten out of him, replaced by the fear brought on by the pain. He thought Baitsong was a lunatic. He felt no pain, his body was incredibly tough, and he couldn't be pulled off. It's not the opponent's skill you fear, but their fearlessness, their willingness to die. This guy was really trying to kill him. Was there no one who could pull this lunatic off of him? Yin Lingwen opened his eyes and looked around. Suddenly, he saw Yu Lingxue laboriously crawling with her arms, trying to get to the door to grab her phone. Yin Lingwen's eyes widened. If Yu Lingxue got her phone and called the police, the whole thing would be exposed. Quick! Yin Lingwen suddenly raised his hand, pointing at Yu Lingxue by the door, and yelled, Forget this lunatic. Go beat that woman for me. Beat her half to death. At these words, both Baitsong and Yu Lingxue froze, looks of shock on their faces, not expecting Yin Lingwen to suddenly shift his target to Yu Lingxue. The men froze for a moment, then turned to look at Yu Lingxue. Seeing her pathetic state on the ground, and being a beautiful woman, they were honestly a bit hesitant to strike. But this was Yin Lingwen's order, and they had to obey. The men immediately shifted their target and moved menacingly towards Yu Lingxue. Ah! Yu Lingxue screamed, covering her head and curling up in fear. Tisk! Baitsong frowned, immediately rushing forward. Ignoring the pain in his body, he threw himself over Yu Lingxue. Yu Lingxue was startled. She opened her eyes and saw Baitsong's face, right in front of hers. He had used his own body to shield her tightly. Baitsong! Baitsong stared into Yu Lingxue's panicked eyes, and in a very soft voice, said in her ear, It's okay now. Don't be afraid. Thump! Smack! A rain of fists and feet fell on Baitsong's body, but his arms, shielding Yu Lingxue, only grew tighter. Cough! TSK! Hiss! Baitsong was about to grind his teeth to dust. There was blood on his white teeth, but it was hard to tell if it came from his throat or if he'd bitten his own lip. He felt his vision starting to blur, unsure if he could still see things clearly. Seeing Baitsong like this, tears streamed down Yu Lingxue's face again. In a hoarse voice, she cried out, Get out of here! Don't mind me! Quick! She tried to push Baitsong away with her arms, but his solid body was like it was fixed in place, not reacting at all to the blows or her pushes. Seeing Baitsong on the verge of losing consciousness, his eyes half closed and dazed. Yu Lingxue was frantic. Her legs still had no feeling, she couldn't move, and she had no strength left. But watching Baitsong suffer such pain to protect her, her heart ached so much she could barely breathe. Yu Lingxue's hands were still tied, but she wrapped her arms around Baitsong's neck, crying and screaming in a breakdown. Stop hitting him. I'm begging you. Stop hitting him. Yu Lingxue cried her heart out, as if those fists and feet were landing on her own body, even more painful than if they were. Stop. Stop hitting him. Please stop hitting him. Yu Lingxue pleaded pitifully. All she wanted now was for Bai Song to be okay, for them to stop hitting him. Cough, cough, damn it. That really hurt. Yin Lingwen slowly got to his feet. His face stung with a burning pain, feeling like it had swollen to twice its size. Bai Song had hit him truly hard, and his fists were like iron, hitting his face like some kind of metal. I'll show you tough. At this point, Yin Lingwen seemed to have snapped, his eyes completely bloodshot. He picked up the metal baseball bat from the floor and walked menacingly toward Bai Song. Just die already. Yin Lingwen raised the metal bat high, then swung it down hard. No! Yu Lingxue screamed, but the next second, there was a sickening crack. Crack! The bat landed squarely on Bai Song's head. In an instant, the whites of Bai Song's eyes showed, and his head slumped down, resting next to Yu Lingxue. Bai Song. Yu Lingxue's voice trembled violently, her eyes wide with disbelief, her lips quivering. A moment later, she felt something flowing onto her cheek. She turned her head. It was blood flowing from Bai Song's head. In that instant, she felt as if her heart had stopped beating. Her mind also seemed to stop thinking, a complete blank. They're here. Here. Just then, a dozen or so people suddenly burst in from outside. All of them were burly men dressed in black, and they quickly surrounded everyone in the room. Yin Lingwen was stunned. It was obvious these people weren't his cronies. He hadn't called them. The few men who had been gleefully beating Bai Song now cowered, huddling near Yin Lingwen, staying far away from the men in black. I'd like to see who dares to move. Then, from behind the men in black, Zhou Heng walked in. Following him was Tang Ji. The two of them had come together. As soon as Zhou Heng and Tang Ji walked in, they saw the tragic scene on the floor. Bai Song was lying on top of Yu Lingxue, his life uncertain, blood continuously flowing from his head, forming a small pool. Yu Lingxue was pinned underneath, her face filled with despair, softly mumbling, Bai Song, Bai Song. Seeing this, Zhou Heng and Tang Ji's faces immediately darkened, filled with rage. Zhou Heng spoke slowly. Tang Ji, call an ambulance. Tang Ji nodded. Okay, brother. Beat them to a pulp. Didn't Vice President Bai say it? Whatever happens, he'll take responsibility. If he doesn't need to, I'm doing this in my own name. Zhou Heng ripped off his jacket, revealing his powerful physique. Then, with an overwhelming sense of pressure, he walked step by step towards Yin Lingwen. Yin Lingwen still didn't know who these newcomers were. He raised the metal bat, pointed it at Zhou Heng, and shouted with a hint of fear, You, who are you? Don't come any closer. Do you know who I am? AR, Zhou Heng roared, suddenly accelerating. His entire body charged towards Yin Lingwen like a war chariot. Before Yin Lingwen could react, he was sent flying by Zhou Heng's impact and then slammed against the glass window behind him. Crack! The intense impact caused the glass to instantly spiderweb with cracks. Yin Lingwen felt as if his stomach was about to be pierced. His intestines were about to burst. His eyes bulged, and his mouth opened as if he were about to vomit. Before Yin Lingwen could even fall, Zhou Heng's powerful hands clamped around his neck, lifting him up. Gag! Cough, cough, cough! Gag! Yin Lingwen's legs kicked and struggled, his hands clawing at Zhou Heng's. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't pry Zhou Heng's hands open. Those hands were like pincers, clamped tight and refusing to let go. I was wrong. Spare me. I beg you. I was wrong. Yin Lingwen felt like he was suffocating, his face beet red, on the verge of losing consciousness and unable to speak. Zhou Heng had no intention of letting him pass out so easily. He flung Yin Lingwen to the side, and the grown man was tossed like a dog 4 or 5 meters away. Cough, cough, cough. Yin Lingwen fell to the ground, rolling several times, blood spurting from his mouth. Just as Yin Lingwen thought Zhou Heng had let him go, Zhou Heng once again clenched his fists and walked toward him. This time, Yin Lingwen's eyes held nothing but terror. Tang Ji had already called for an ambulance. She knelt on the ground and untied Yu Lingxue's hands. Her hands were already purple, probably numb and without feeling. Then, she began to perform emergency first aid on Bai Song to stop the bleeding. She had to keep Bai Song alive until the ambulance arrived. Yu Lingxue came to her senses. She saw Tang Ji and in a pleading, hoarse, crying voice said, Tang Ji, save him. Save Bai Song. Nothing can happen to him. I don't want anything to happen to him. Here is... Bai Song was stunned. The scene before him was a bit strange. Why did it look like a classroom? Wasn't he just protecting Yu Lingxue? Did he die? Is this heaven? No way. Do you still have to go to school after you die? Song couldn't help but complain, but when he looked down and saw the boy sitting at the desk in front of him, he was taken aback. This seems to be me? Is this me from when I just started high school? Why can I see my past self? Song looked around and saw the classroom was full of students, almost all of whom were familiar faces. This seemed to be his classroom from when he just started high school. Can't they see me? Am I dreaming? As Song was wondering, he suddenly caught sight of the desk in front of his. A girl was sitting there, writing something seriously. This girl, he was all too familiar with. Wasn't it Yu-Ling? They were desk mates back then, one behind the other. All right, students, now write on a piece of paper the name of the person you like the most and the person you hate the most. Don't let others see, the teacher said from the front of the class. Then, everyone lowered their heads and began to write. Song stood right next to his high school self and Yu-Ling, watching them write on their papers. Song looked at Yu-Ling's paper. In the space for the person she liked most, she wrote Mom. Then, in the space for the person she hated most, she wrote Song. Ugh. Song stood there, a corner of his mouth twitching, thinking this result was not surprising at all. Then he looked at his own paper. For the person he hated most, he had written the name of someone he used to despise. In the space for the person he liked most, he had written, a boy's name. Hey, look, the person Song likes most is the class president. Ha ha. Just then, the boy at the desk behind him suddenly pointed at Song's paper and shouted loud enough for the whole class to hear. Because their class president was a boy. Instantly, the whole class burst into laughter. The class president's face turned green, looking particularly awful. Yu-Ling also turned around to look at him, her face showing disgust and contempt. But his past self seemed unfazed because something was also written on the back of the paper. Song turned the paper over. On the back, it was written, the person I like most, the ordinary Yu-Ling. Huh, did I write something like that? Song stood there, stunned to see what was written on his paper. He didn't remember this at all. What did the ordinary Yu-Ling mean? Her, just as a normal person? Her, completely unrelated to Junhong? That must be it. Okay, next, write down your wish. Song was very interested in this, because back then, he remembered writing something about becoming a vice president of Junhong. He still didn't know what Yu-Ling had written. Song moved next to Yu-Ling, lowered his head to look at her paper, very curious about what wish she would write. It was probably also to become a vice president of Junhong, right? But when Song saw what Yu-Ling had written on her paper, he was suddenly stunned, a look of surprise on his face. If I could, I wish Song and I weren't rivals, that we could be good friends. Song's consciousness suddenly shifted. The world before him instantly blurred and then sharpened. When his mind cleared and he could see his surroundings, it seemed to have changed. He was in a hospital. He saw a white ceiling, and memories gradually returned. He seemed to have been knocked out by Yin Lingwen while protecting Yu-Ling. What happened after that? Did Zhou Hong and the others arrive in time? Because he knew he couldn't have gotten Yu-Ling out of there by himself. There was no way to escape from their territory. He had just gone ahead first, sending a message to Zhou Hong and the others beforehand, while also calling for his own family's enforcers. He protected Yu-Ling to buy time, and he must have stalled long enough for Zhou Hong and the others to arrive. Right now, he just felt a terrible headache, and there wasn't a single part of his body that didn't hurt. He couldn't even move. Any movement caused pain. Just then, Song felt something heavy on his body. He laboriously shifted his gaze downwards, and when he saw what it was, his eyes widened. He saw Yu-Ling lying on top of him, seemingly asleep. Song gave a helpless tug at the corner of his mouth and mumbled softly, "To think you'd sleep on an injured person, really? But I'm glad you're okay." Song looked as if a weight had been lifted from him. Then he also closed his eyes, ready to rest peacefully. Click! Just then, Song heard the hospital room door open. He didn't open his eyes completely, but peeked through a tiny slit towards the door and saw Zhou Hong and Tang Ji walking in. Hearing the door open, Yu-Ling also woke up immediately, sat up, and looked towards the door. It was only then that Song noticed Yu-Ling seemed to have dark circles under her eyes, not looking well, as if she hadn't rested properly. "You're here." Yu-Ling lowered her voice, speaking very softly, and carefully glanced at Song, seeing that his eyes were still closed, and sighed helplessly. "Not awake yet? It's been 2 days. Didn't the doctor say he's fine? He should be waking up by now, right?" The two walked to the bedside, looking at Song on the bed. Zhou Hong mumbled in confusion. At this point, Song didn't know if he should open his eyes or not. He had indeed just woken up, but he hadn't expected to have been unconscious for 2 days. Tang Ji crossed her arms, shook her head, and sighed. "This guy is really something. His skull is even harder than a normal person's." A normal person would probably be in a vegetative state after a hit like that, but he just has a slight concussion. Baitsong was shocked. So he had been concussed. No wonder the dream, he just had felt so real, as if he had been reborn. It must have been from the blow. Tang Ji gently patted Yu Lingshua's shoulder and said, "We'll watch him for a bit. You should go get some rest. You've been here taking care of him without sleep for 2 days. You were injured too. Don't wear yourself out. She has been here taking care of me this whole time." Baitsong, with his eyes closed, was a little surprised to hear Tang Ji's words. No wonder he saw her sleeping on him. She must have been exhausted. "I'm fine. I just took a little nap. I'm not that tired now." Yu Lingxue shook her head, then turned to look at Baitsong lying on the bed, her eyes full of worry. She had been here every day, taking care of him without sleep, just hoping he would get well soon. If something serious really happened to him, she would feel guilty for the rest of her life. During this time, Baitsong's father had also visited. When he learned that Yu Lingxue was here taking care of Baitsong, he had no more worries. Yu Lingxue was very apologetic, blaming herself for Baitsong being unconscious because he had come to save her. She kept apologizing to Baitsong's father, taking all the responsibility on herself. Baitsong's father didn't blame Yu Lingxue, just told her to take good care of Baitsong. Zhou Heng and Tang Ji also found a place to sit down, planning to stay with Yu Lingxue for a while, so she wouldn't be so lonely. Zhou Heng smiled with interest and asked, "Hey, I remember you two used to hate each other, right? Like a pair of nemeses, always bickering whenever you met. How did you get so close now?" Yu Lingxue was caught off guard by the question, a slightly embarrassed look on her face. She and Baitsong really did seem like enemies before. But deep down, they both knew they were only on opposing sides because of their families. Otherwise, there was no deep-seated hatred between them. After their rivalry ended, they stopped being hostile to each other, and after so many years, their relationship had gotten better and better. Tang Ji picked up the conversation, saying, "Baitsong is a pretty good guy. It's just that before. He had a bit of a dark past, but it's not a big deal anymore." At that moment, Baitsong, lying there, suddenly let out a soft groan, instantly drawing the attention of the three, their gazes shifting towards him. Zhou Heng and Tang Ji paused, then exchanged a knowing smile. "All right, we'll be going now. We feel at ease with you here. Don't worry about your mother. We'll look after her." Zhou Heng and Tang Ji stood up, said a few simple words, and prepared to leave. Yu Lingxue quickly got up to see them off. After chatting at the door for a bit, Zhou Heng and Tang Ji left. Yu Lingxue returned to the room, stood at the door, and stared at Baitsong for a moment before whispering, "All right, stop pretending. They're gone." Hearing this, Baitsong silently opened his eyes, a sheepish grin on his face. I wasn't pretending. I really just woke up." Yu Lingxue didn't care when Baitsong had woken up. She went straight to the bedside, sat down, and asked softly, "How are you feeling? Does it still hurt?" Feeling such a gentle attitude from Yu Lingxue, Baitsong was a bit overwhelmed. He quickly nodded and replied, "Not really. It doesn't hurt much anymore. I'm fine, Thank you for your hard work. It's fine, it's what I should do. Thank you for saving me." The two fell into silence, seemingly reminiscing about what had happened. Even now, Yu Lingxue felt a slight pain in her throat. The red wine forced down her throat, and her heart-wrenching cries had done a lot of damage to her vocal cords. "Are you hungry?" After a moment, Yu Lingxue suddenly spoke up and asked. Baitsong paused for a moment. He was indeed very hungry, so he replied, "A little. Then wait for me a moment." Yu Lingxue left the room. About an hour later, she returned with a meal box in her hand. She sat down next to Baitsong, opened the box, and said softly, "Be careful. Eat slowly. Don't choke." Then, she began to feed Baitsong with a spoon, one bite at a time. It was the first time Baitsong had received such treatment. He didn't dare to speak, but every time he saw Yu Lingxue's serious face as she fed him, he felt an indescribable feeling. "Did you make this yourself?" Yu Lingxue nodded. You're lacking nutrients right now. I have to cook for you personally." "All right, thank you. I told you it's what I should do." Just then, the room door opened again, and a voice came from outside. "Xiaoxue, are you in here?" Hearing the voice, Yu Lingxue recognized it as her mother's. She was a little surprised, stood up, and looked at the door to see her mother, in a wheelchair, being pushed in by Old Li. Mom, why are you here?" They were in the same hospital. For the past few days, Yu Lingxue hadn't been to her mother's room, instead focusing on taking care of Baitsong. Her mother was recovering well and had Old Li to look after her, so she didn't need so many people. But she never expected her mother to find her here. "Zhou Heng and Tang Ji came to see me and told me you were here." Yu Lingshue's mother turned her head to look at Bai Song on the bed and explained. Oh, Annie. Bai Song, seeing Yu Lingshue's mother, tried to speak and sit up. But Yu Lingxue stopped him, frowning slightly and whispering, Behave yourself. Don't move. Oh, okay. Bai Song didn't dare to disobey Yu Lingshue's words and lay there obediently. Even though he really wanted to get up and greet her, his current physical condition didn't quite allow for it. Xiaoxue. This. Yu Lingshue's mother didn't understand what was going on. She pointed at Bai Song and looked at Yu Lingxue with a bewildered expression. Yu Lingxue pursed her lips, looked at her mother, then at Bai Song, as if contemplating something. After a long silence, she finally spoke slowly. Mom, do you remember the good news I told you about before? Ah, good news. Yu Lingshue's mother was taken aback, her mind recalling what Yu Lingxue had once told her. Yu Lingxue reached out her hand, pointed at Bai Song, and said with a straight face, Let me formally introduce him. His name is Bai Song. He is the man I like. Huh. For a moment, the other three people in the room were stunned, staring at Yu Lingxue with incredulous eyes. Especially Bai Song, who lay there with his mouth agape, as if he could fit a fist inside. What did this mean? Why did Yu Lingxue suddenly say such a thing in front of her mother? Good news? She had just called this good news? I've met this child before. Yu Lingshue's mother finally nodded after a long pause, looking at Bai Song and speaking softly. She had an impression of Bai Song. He had visited her home before, but she never expected that Yu Lingxue actually liked him. When she first heard Yu Lingxue say she had someone she liked, she thought she was just trying to comfort her. Was it actually true? Yu Lingxue turned her head to look at Bai Song lying there. Their eyes met. Bai Song still wore a look of bewilderment and shock. But Yu Lingxue flashed a playful smile, sticking out the tip of her tongue, looking very mischievous. In that instant, Bai Song felt a bit dazed. In his mind, he thought of the sentence he had written down. The ordinary Yu Lingxue. Wasn't the current Yu Lingxue just like that? She had little to do with Juanheng anymore, had probably completely broken ties with her father, no longer had to participate in those competitions, now had a good job, so many good friends, goals, and dreams. This was an ordinary girl, and also the one he liked the most. What happened to him? Why is he so badly injured? Oldie was a bit puzzled. The extent of the injuries looked like he had been in a car accident. Bai Song didn't know what to say for a moment. He looked at Yu Lingxue, thinking it was better for her to explain. Anything she said would be fine. Yu Lingxue pursed her lips and said softly, To protect me. As soon as she said this, Bai Song's heart couldn't help but feel a sense of relief, though he didn't really know what he was worried about. But there was always a thought in his mind. He wanted Yu Lingxue to admit this, as if her admission would make him very happy. I see. Yu Lingshue's mother and Oldie exchanged a glance, seemingly understanding something. When her mother looked at Bai Song again, there was a hint of gratitude in her eyes. Thank you, child. Thank you for protecting Xiaoxue. Annie, it was what I should do. I also. Bai Song suddenly became a little flustered, his thoughts jumbled. He paused mid-sentence. Yu Lingxue looked at him strangely, wondering what on earth he was trying to say. After a few seconds, Bai Song continued in a very serious and earnest tone. I like Yu Lingxue too. She's the person I like the most. In an instant, Yu Lingshue's face flushed a deep red. A flicker of panic shot through her dark eyes, and her heart suddenly started to race. She took half a step back, staring at Bai Song and muttering, What are you talking about? Yu Lingshue's mother and Oldie looked at each other and couldn't help but let out a soft laugh. Then they both understood. They had just been worried about Yu Lingxue, but now it seemed there was nothing to worry about. All right, Xiaoxue, you take good care of Xiaocong here. Don't worry about me. Uncle Li can take care of me, and I'm getting better and better. Just make sure you take good care of him, you hear? Yu Lingxue raised her hand, wanting to say something, but the words died on her lips. Instead, she just nodded and replied, I know, Mom. Good, then we'll head back. You need to get some rest too. After a few more words, Oldie pushed Yu Lingshue's mother out of the room. They didn't want to disturb the two of them any longer. After they left, Yu Lingxue sat down and looked at Bai Song on the hospital bed. They stared at each other for a long time. Puffed. The next moment, they both burst out laughing simultaneously. Yu Lingxue covered her mouth as she laughed, while Bai Song felt a pang in his head with every laugh. But he couldn't help but laugh anyway. What are you doing? What are you laughing at? Yu Lingxue asked, pointing at Bai Song while laughing. Can't I laugh? Then what are you laughing at? None of your business. Smiles they couldn't hide hung on their faces. In reality, they didn't know exactly what they were laughing about, but just looking at each other made them unable to stop laughing. After a while, Bai Song asked softly, I want to ask you something. What? It's just. Back when we just started high school, do you remember that time we had to write down the person we liked the most, and the person we hated the most, and also our dream? I think. There was something like that. What about it? Yuling Xue was slightly taken aback. Hearing Bai Tsong's words seemed to trigger a memory. Bai Tsong spoke slowly. The person you hated the most, you probably wrote me, right? Yuling Xue paused, blinked, then turned to look elsewhere and said softly, good that you know your place. What's wrong? Can't I? And the person you liked the most, you wrote your mom. Whoa, you even know that? Did you peek back then? Yuling Xue raised an eyebrow, asking suspiciously. I did not peek. I know you that well, don't I? That's not important. What I want to ask is, back then, your wish. What did you write? Bai Tsong clutched the blanket, looking expectantly at Yuling Xue, trying to get a clear answer from her. He felt that it wasn't just a simple dream. Maybe what he saw was real. Yuling Xue was stunned for a few seconds before she reacted, frowning and pointing at Bai Tsong as she questioned, Did you really peek? No, I didn't. I just remembered and was simply curious. Really? Really? So what did you write? You really want to know? I do. Tell me. Well, Yuling Xue hesitated for a moment, then looked left and right, as if checking if anyone was eavesdropping. Then she lowered her head, leaned close to Bai Tsong's ear, and whispered, I'm not telling you, dream on. Bai Tsong was stunned. He looked at Yuling Xue's face and saw her triumphant expression. Come on, just tell me. What's there not to tell? I want to know. All right. Yuling Xue waved her hand, nodding with a hint of helplessness. Then, she slowly reached out her hand, gently placing it on top of Bai Tsong's. Bai Tsong's eyes widened in surprise. He then saw Yuling Xue lower her head slightly and say in a very small voice, What I wrote was this. Under Yuling Xue's meticulous care, Bai Tsong recovered quickly. His body's self-healing ability was very strong. In just a few days, he was able to stand up and walk on his own. Before that, things like going to the bathroom were a bit awkward. Yuling Xue was very considerate, always stepping out to let a nurse take care of him when he needed to use the restroom. One day, Yuling Xue and Bai Tsong were eating together in the hospital room. Their relationship had grown closer and closer. In fact, after they both confessed their feelings for each other, they were just one step away from breaking through that last thin layer of paper, just shy of making their relationship official. Hurry up and get well, then we can go and properly thank Zhou Heng and Yimengran. If it weren't for them, we'd both be done for. I know that, don't worry. By the way, how is Lingwen Group? Now, Bai Tsong only knew that his father had said he would make Yin Lingwen pay the price, but he wasn't exactly sure what he would do. Yuling Xue thought for a moment, nodded, and said, Right now, Lingwen Group is already in a crisis. It's in a completely hostile relationship with Juanheng and your family. I don't know the specifics. For Yuling Xue, the most unavoidable thing right now was the constant stream of calls from her father. She heard from Zhou Hong that Yu Yinghai was under immense pressure at Juanheng recently and had practically stopped coming to work. It seemed Lingwen Group was pressuring him. He didn't have the power of the Bai family, and Lingwen Group was picking on the weak, so Yu Yinghai had become their punching bag. All the frustration Lingwen Group suffered at the hands of the Bai family was being vented on Yu Yinghai. Inside Juanheng, he wasn't having an easy time either. The people who used to follow him immediately distanced themselves after hearing about his current predicament. So now he was blaming everything on Yuling Xue, thinking she was intentionally trying to ruin him. He had wanted to retaliate against Yuling Xue through the hospital, since this was his territory, but now he couldn't. Because the hospital was now under the protection of Bai Tsong's father, Bai Jing, he didn't dare to act rashly, or he would face even harsher retaliation from the Bai family. He was now caught between a rock and a hard place, with absolutely no one on his side, completely isolated and helpless. All he could do now was constantly call Yuling Xue, but Yuling Xue hadn't answered a single call. She had already made up her mind not to do anything for Yu Yinghai anymore. Doing anything for him was just harming herself. All she had to do was protect the people important to her, and that was enough. Just then, Yuling Xue's phone rang again. She glanced at it, saw it was the same number, and directly silenced it. He had called her hundreds of times these past few days. Bai Tsong's room, as well as her mother's room, were both protected by people arranged by Bai Zhengji. Yu Yinghai had no chance to get close, nor to send anyone close, so she simply didn't care anymore, as long as the important people were safe. As Bai Tsong ate, he saw Yuling Xue silence her phone. He knew who was calling. He put down his chopsticks, looked at Yuling Xue, and hesitated for a moment, as if contemplating something. What's wrong? Yu Lingxue looked up at Bai Song and asked curiously. Bai Song suddenly reached out and took Yu Lingxue's hand, saying softly, don't be afraid. From now on, I'll protect you. You won't be threatened by your father anymore. As soon as he said this, the room fell silent. Yu Lingxue was completely stunned, staring at Bai Song, her mouth slightly agape, as if she had lost the ability to think. But Bai Song's expression remained serious, not looking like he was joking at all. Uft. After a few seconds, Yu Lingxue suddenly burst out laughing, covering her mouth and giggling nonstop. This made Bai Song blush a little, not knowing what had suddenly come over her. Haha, what are you doing? Why are you suddenly playing the hero? You're acting like a man now. Hearing that last sentence, Bai Song lowered his head in embarrassment. He felt that his relationship with Yu Lingxue these days had reached a point where he had long wanted to break through that last barrier and make their relationship official. But he knew he was always looked down upon by Yu Lingxue. Because he used to like men, he would surely be disdained and disgusted. He didn't dare to bring it up, thinking he would most likely be met with resistance. I used to. Indeed, he wanted to say that he indeed didn't act like a man before, but before he could finish, Yu Lingxue reached out and pressed her finger to his lips, stopping him from continuing. All right, why bring up the past now? I know what you want to say. Really? Then, you still say you like me, don't you find it disgusting? Bai Song's voice grew smaller and smaller, eventually becoming as quiet as a mosquito's buzz. He was really afraid that Yu Lingxue would find him disgusting, or that she was just joking when she said she liked him that day, or that she regretted it. He was genuinely worried and scared right now. Who doesn't have a dark past? Haven't you been normal for many years now? Yu Lingxue shrugged, seeming completely unconcerned about it. While it was a sticking point for Bai Song, it didn't seem to matter much to Yu Lingxue. In her most helpless moment, the moment Bai Song appeared, in her most critical moment, the moment Bai Song protected her. To protect her, he completely disregarded his own safety, not giving up even when he was beaten to the point of losing consciousness. At that moment, she felt Bai Song was the manliest man, a man among men. So, she didn't care what Bai Song was like before. All she knew was that now, he was the man who had completely captivated her. Really, a glint of surprise shone in Bai Song's eyes. His heart was now filled with hope. He felt he could launch his charge. Yu Lingxue had already made things so clear. If he didn't take the hint, he would be a fool. Then, can you be my girl? But, suddenly, Yu Lingxue's tone shifted. She pointed at Bai Song's forehead, staring at him seriously, cutting off what he was about to say. But what? Bai Song's heart suddenly started to race, an anxious expression reappearing on his face. A blush appeared on Yu Lingxue's cheeks, and she said in a low voice, but you have to go for a checkup. I'm afraid that from before, you might have caught some disease. If there's nothing wrong with you, I'll date you. Bai Song was stunned for a moment, then a smile appeared on his face. He said, ha, so that's what it is. Don't worry, I get a checkup every year, that's not a problem. About half a month later, Tianheng, Huzhou, a car slowly pulled up to the company entrance. The passenger door opened, and the person who got out was Yu Lingxue. Her demeanor was completely different now, with a smile on her face, looking sunny, optimistic, and cheerful. She was carrying several bags of things. Looking at the company she hadn't been back to for over a month, she felt quite excited. She had long wanted to come back to work. During this time, she had spoken with Yin Mingran many times, and Yin Mingran always told her not to rush, that she could rest as long as she wanted. But Yu Lingxue still wanted to come back sooner. She felt that working with Yin Mingran was very enjoyable. Besides, after taking care of her mother and Bai Song, she still had to go back and take care of Yin Mingran, who was still pregnant. Just as Yu Lingxue got out of the car, the driver's side door opened, and a man got out. It was Bai Song. He had driven Yu Lingxue back. Bai Song had recovered quickly. In half a month, he was basically fine, just needing to be careful not to get injured again. Moreover, during this time, Bai Song had been very happy, because he and Yu Lingxue had officially become a couple. Hey, let me help you carry those. Bai Song quickly ran over, wanting to help Yu Lingxue with her things, but Yu Lingxue moved her hand away, not letting him succeed. Oh, it's fine. The stuff isn't heavy. You don't need to help me. You should get going. You remember what you promised me, right? Yu Lingxue looked at Bai Song and asked with a small laugh. Bai Song nodded and said, Of course. I will definitely protect Mom. You can rest assured about that. Bai Song would not forget the task Yu Lingxue had given him, which was to protect her mother. Her mother had also been discharged from the hospital and had gone home. Oldie had also quit his job to take care of Yu Lingxue's mother full-time. They didn't need to worry about daily expenses anymore. After Bai Song and Yu Lingxue got together, he took on the responsibility, giving them money and supporting them. Even if Yu Lingxue refused, Baicang always insisted. After all, to him, this amount of money was nothing. That's good. Then I'm going to work. Drive back carefully. Yu Lingxue smiled and nodded, then prepared to walk into the company. Just as she took a step, Baicang suddenly grabbed her wrist. Yu Lingxue looked back and saw Baicang's reluctant gaze. For the past half-month, the two of them had spent every moment together. Now that they were about to part, Baicang's heart was truly a bit reluctant. If Yu Lingxue worked in Dongzhou, at any company other than Junheng, he could have used his connections to get into that company and be with her. No company would dare to refuse him this favor. But Yu Lingxue was at Tianheng in Huzhou. There was really nothing he could do about this. This wasn't a place he could just waltz into whenever he wanted. Yu Lingxue paused for a moment, then put the bags on the ground, a faint smile on her face, and took a step forward. Mwah! The next moment, Yu Lingxue's thin, rosy lips gently planted a kiss on Baicang's cheek. Baicang's eyes immediately widened, and his ears turned red in an instant. Be good, okay? Wait for my day off, and we'll go out and have fun, okay? Yu Lingxue showed a doting look, reached out, and patted Baicang's head, her tone also very gentle, like a mother speaking to her child. Okay, with Yu Lingxue speaking like this, how could Baicang possibly refuse? He obediently nodded and agreed. Okay, then I'm off. Yu Lingxue picked up her bags again and walked into Tianheng. Baicang watched her back, sighed helplessly, and muttered, It's not just that I can't bear to leave you. I also feel for you. You had to take care of your mother, then me for so long, and now you have to go back and take care of Yimengran. You should take a break and let me take care of you for a change. Baicang greatly admired Yu Lingxue's mentality and her abilities, but also made him feel for her. Perhaps this was exactly what he liked about her. Only after watching Yu Lingxue enter Tianheng did Baicang prepare to leave. At least here he was at ease. With Yimengran around, Yu Lingxue wouldn't be bullied. He now had more important things to do, which was to share Yu Lingxue's burden. Her most important person, her mother, he must protect well. Ran, I'm back. Yu Lingxue pushed open the office door and called out happily. Inside the office, Yimengran was still sitting and working. Hearing the voice, she looked up, and upon seeing Yu Lingxue, her face immediately lit up with a look of pleasant surprise. Xiao Xue, you're back. Why didn't you tell me beforehand? I would have picked you up. Yimengran quickly stood up and went to the door to greet Yu Lingxue. Seeing her again after more than a month, she felt she had missed her a lot. No need to pick me up. I'm not a child. How are you? Are you okay? Yu Lingxue smiled slightly, then reached out and touched Yimengran's belly. Couldn't be better. Staying here is like being fattened up. I feel like I've gained weight recently. Yimengran pinched her own cheek. She really felt like she had gotten fatter. Just a moment ago, she was thinking she must try to control her diet a bit. Nonsense. You're not fat at all. Here, I brought you some goodies. Yu Lingxue said as she rummaged through the bag she brought, which were filled with treats for Yimengran. Yimengran had just said she wanted to control her diet, but when she saw that Yu Lingxue had brought all her favorite foods. Xiao Xue is the best. Yimengran opened her arms and hugged Yu Lingxue, giggling happily. All right. How can I compare to your Zhou? He must be very busy recently, right? Handling a lot of things at Junheng. Yes. He hasn't been here for a week. Yimengran shrugged and said, looking a bit down. She always said that Zhou didn't need to come see her so often, that he must be very busy over there, with many things to do, and that traveling back and forth was also tiring. But when Zhou really didn't come, she still felt a little disappointed. Even though she knew he was busy, she still missed seeing him. Yu Lingxue walked over, sat down next to Yimengran, and put her arm around her shoulder, saying, It's okay. When we have time in a few days, let's go to Junheng and visit them. After all, we can't always have them come to us. A few days later, Yu Lingxue and Yimengran prepared to go to Junheng in Dongzhou to visit Zhou and the others. Yimengran hadn't had a proper vacation for about 2 months, so Lu Wei gave them both a week off to go and have fun. Yu Lingxue felt quite embarrassed. After all, she had been on leave for so long, had only been back at work for a few days, and now she was taking a break again. It was a bit awkward. But Lu Wei's purpose in having Yu Lingxue go along was to accompany and take care of Yimengran. If he said that this was her main job, that would also be correct. Baicang is willing to come pick us up? That's so nice of him. Yimengran and Yu Lingxue were waiting in the office. Yimengran was still wondering how to get back to Dongzhou when Yu Lingxue said that Baicang could come and pick them up. At this point, Yimengran still didn't know about the change in Yu Lingxue and Baicang's relationship. She only knew that Baicang had protected Yu Lingxue, And then Yuling Xue had taken care of Bai Song in hospital for a long time. She thought that good friends would do that for each other, so she didn't think too much about it. She was very happy that Bai Song could come and pick them up, and didn't suspect anything more. He's free anyway, so it's perfect for him to pick us up, huh? Yuling Xue answered casually. In reality, Bai Song wasn't very free. She had specifically called and asked him to come. Although they hadn't been apart for long, Yuling Xue did miss him a little, so she just called him directly to pick them up. And when Bai Song got the message, he didn't hesitate for a second, immediately dropping all his work and rushing over. He had been missing Yuling Xue for a long time too, and had been wanting to come and see her, but never had the chance. Now, he finally had an opportunity. You took care of him in hospital for so long this time. Your relationship must be even better now, right? I heard from Tang Ji that you two don't bicker like you used to at all. Yin Mingran looked very interested and asked Yuling Xue. Yuling Xue, however, looked a little nervous, thinking to herself that not only did they not bicker anymore, they were kissing now. Well, he saved me, so I have to repay him. So how did you repay him? Did you get him a gift? Treating him to a meal sounds more like your style. How did I repay him? Yuling Xue showed an awkward smile. She gave herself to him. That should be repayment enough. At this moment, Yuling Xue received a call from Bai Song, saying he had arrived at the company entrance and they could come out. Then, the two of them walked out of the company and saw a car parked at the entrance. It was Bai Song's car. Bai Song had gotten out of the driver's seat and was waving at the two of them. Yin Gran also waved back, greeting him. Hello, long time no see, young Master Bai. Are your injuries healed? Hello, CEO Yin. I'm fine now, see? Alive and kicking. Bai Song laughed and replied. Then, he looked over at Yuling Xue and opened his arms. Yuling Xue didn't hesitate either, immediately throwing herself into Bai Song's arms and hugging him. This scene left Yin Gran completely dumbfounded. She had guessed that Yuling Xue and Bai Song's relationship was very good now, but she hadn't guessed it would be this good. Would good friends greet each other like this? It seemed more like something two girls would do. Get in the car. After hugging for a moment, they separated. Bai Song opened the car door and said to Yin Gran, Oh, okay. Yin Gran sat in the back of the car, while Yuling Xue sat in the passenger seat. After the car started, Yin Gran was still a bit curious. She wanted to ask about the hug. Just then, Yuling Xue spoke first, asking, How's my mom? Bai Song glanced at Yuling Xue and replied, Don't worry, I've arranged everything perfectly. I bought a house, and have already let Uncle and Annie move in. I've also arranged for protection, so there will be absolutely no danger. Bought a house? What are you doing? Who told you to buy a house? Spending money recklessly again. And my mom? Really, why didn't she stop you? Ha ha ha. Annie tried to stop me, but I insisted on buying. They couldn't do anything in the end. Yuling Xue was complaining about Bai Song in a gentle, coquettish way, while Bai Song was smiling dotingly. No matter what Yuling Xue said, he responded the same way. This made Yin Gran feel that something was off. The relationship between these two was a bit too good. A relationship like this seemed to have surpassed that of ordinary good friends. Can I ask a presumptuous question? After a while, Yin Gran really couldn't contain her curiosity anymore and asked in a small voice. Hearing Yin Gran speak, Bai Song and Yuling Xue's voices suddenly stopped, as if they had been forcibly silenced. What question? Yuling Xue turned her head awkwardly to look at Yin Gran and asked. It's just, looking at the two of you now, you seem to be a couple? Are you together? Yin Gran's sudden question caught Yuling Xue completely off guard. She was stunned for a moment. Bai Song, on the other hand, didn't hesitate at all and replied without a second thought. Yes, we are together. Today is the 24th day. Bai Song's answer made Yin Gran's mouth fall slightly open in surprise. As for Yuling Xue, in an instant, a faint blush spread across her cheeks, and even her delicate earlobes turned red. But Bai Song looked triumphant, speaking with complete confidence, as if he didn't need to think twice about saying such a thing. Well, you two. Xiao Xue, why didn't you tell me about something like this sooner? That's not very friendly. Yin Gran said this, but there was no hint of complaint in her tone. She was still smiling. She actually thought it was a happy occasion. She didn't understand why Yuling Xue hadn't told her. There was no need to hide at all. Yuling Xue pursed her lips and mumbled, I was thinking of telling you all after a while. It's been 24 days, okay. How much longer were you going to wait? Never mind. In that case, to celebrate you two getting together, I'll treat you both to a meal when we arrive, and I'll pick out some gifts for you too. You've been hiding it from me for so long. No refusing, okay. Afterwards, the three of them arrived at Dongzhou, preparing to go to Juanheng to find Zhou Heng and Tang Ji. Learning that they were busy today and would only have time after work, Yin Gran and the other two decided to go shopping first and wait for Zhou Heng and Tang Ji to finish. Thus, it turned into a scene where Yin Gran and Yu Lingxue were shopping and chatting happily in front, while Baicang followed behind, carrying their things. Despite this, Baicang was very happy. As long as he could be with Yu Lingxue, he was content. So how'd you two get together? Tell me the details. Yin Gran was very interested in this matter, so she kept asking Yu Lingxue, hoping to get an answer from her. Yu Lingxue thought for a moment, but didn't know how to begin. She felt that her getting together with Baicang was very natural, as if there wasn't much of a story to it. It was just that he saved her regardless of the danger, and then she fell hopelessly in love with him. Thinking of this, Yu Lingxue glanced back and saw Baicang following closely behind. When he saw her turn around, he immediately smiled, quickened his pace, and hurried to catch up. After catching up, he asked, "Are you guys thirsty? I'll go buy some water." "Oh, you go ahead then. Give me the things to carry." Yu Lingxue reached out, wanting to take the things from Baicang's hands, but Baicang shook his head and said, "It's fine, no need. You two just enjoy your shopping. I'll carry the stuff. I'm going to buy water now, be right back." After speaking, he turned and left, moving quickly so as not to keep them waiting. Yu Lingxue didn't even have time to say more before she saw Baicang walking away. Yin Gran chuckled softly and said, "He's a good man. You two must be happy together." An expression of happiness couldn't help but appear on Yu Lingxue's face. "He is good, but sometimes he's a bit silly, not very smart." "Who says? You didn't even say a word, and he guessed you were in danger, found you just in time, and even called for backup in advance. He wasn't afraid to face so many people. Isn't that both courage and wisdom?" Yu Lingxue was stunned for a moment. Thinking about it carefully, she nodded and said in a low voice, "You're right. He only acts silly when he's with you. My husband is like that sometimes too. Men are just like that in front of the person they love. All right, subtly showing off your husband again, are we?" Yu Lingxue laughed as she linked arms with Yin Gran, who also laughed heartily, not denying it. Just as the two were walking slowly forward, a man appeared in front of them, looking down at his phone. He didn't seem to notice the two women approaching and bumped directly into Yu Lingxue's shoulder. "Hey!" Yu Lingxue staggered from the impact, turned around, and frowned, staring at the man with displeasure. The man immediately bowed his head and apologized. "I'm sorry. I wasn't looking where I was going. My sincerest apologies." Yin Gran was also a bit unhappy, staring at him and saying, "Really? Be more careful." Right. Sorry." After speaking, the man hurriedly left, going down the escalator without looking back. Yin Gran found it a bit strange, but didn't think much of it. She looked at Yu Lingxue and asked, "Are you okay?" I'm fine. It was just a bump." Yu Lingxue shrugged and adjusted her bag, which had slipped down from the bump. But as she did, a small vial of potion, which had appeared on her bag at some point, fell inside. After a while, Baicang returned with water for them. The three shopped for a bit longer, and seeing that it was about time, they headed out to pick up Zhou Heng and the others from work. At the company entrance, the three waited. When it was time to get off work, they saw many employees leaving one after another. After a busy day, they had finally reached their happiest time, but most of their faces were weary, unable to even smile. "Hey, I see them." Just then, Yu Lingxue saw Zhou Heng and Tang Ji walking behind the others. Yin Gran hurried forward, looking eagerly inside, wanting to be the first to see Zhou Heng. Yu Lingxue waved to them first, and they both saw her. However, Zhou Heng and Tang Ji just nodded slightly. It wasn't until Zhou Heng saw Yin Gran that a smile appeared on his face, and he quickened his pace. "Wifey." Zhou Heng came to Yin Gran and hugged her. The two embraced tightly, finally assuaging their longing for each other. Tang Ji glanced at Yu Lingxue and Baicang, narrowed her eyes, and said softly, "Are you two together now?" Yes, we are." Yu Lingxue didn't explain much this time, simply nodding in acknowledgement. All right, as expected, Tang Ji wasn't as surprised as Yin Gran. After all, she could have guessed something like this. Zhou Heng and Yin Gran separated for a moment and looked at Baicang and Yu Lingxue behind them. His expression changed involuntarily. Although it was just for an instant, Yu Lingxue caught it. She was a bit surprised, not knowing what was going on. That momentary change in his expression was as if she had done something wrong. This left Yu Lingxue puzzled and a little uneasy. She began to wonder if she had done something wrong. Was it about being with Baicang? That couldn't be it. Was it that she had taken a long leave of absence and hadn't taken care of Yin Gran? That was a real possibility, but Zhou Heng wasn't the type to get angry over something like that, was he? Yin Min Gran didn't notice Zhou Heng's change. She tugged his arm and said softly, "Hubby, let's go. Let's treat them to dinner to celebrate Xiao Shui and Bai Song getting together." Zhou Heng looked at Yin Min Gran, slightly taken aback, then nodded and said, "Ah, okay." Changing the subject, he frowned slightly and asked, "How have you been feeling lately? Are you uncomfortable anywhere?" "Uncomfortable? No, I'm fine." Yin Min Gran was a bit puzzled, not knowing why Zhou Heng would suddenly ask this, but she was indeed perfectly fine. Zhou Heng's brow relaxed a little. He said, "That's good. Remember, if you feel uncomfortable anywhere, you must tell me right away, okay?" "Oh, okay, I know." Although Yin Min Gran didn't understand, she still nodded obediently and agreed. Afterwards, the group left. It was dinner time, and they planned to eat first. Along the way, Zhou Heng and Yin Min Gran talked a lot. Most of it was Zhou Heng asking Yin Min Gran if anything was unusual lately. This made Yin Min Gran even more confused. She thought hard, but couldn't think of anything unusual about herself. But Zhou Heng seemed very worried that something might be wrong with Yin Min Gran. The group arrived at a restaurant to eat. They sat in a private room. A waiter came in and asked what they would like to order. Just then, Tang Ji held up her hand, interrupting the waiter, and said, "We won't order just yet. We have something to discuss. We'll order later." "All right." The waiter nodded, left the private room, and closed the door. This left Yu Ling Xue, Bai Song, and Yin Min Gran a bit puzzled, not knowing what they had to say. Especially Yu Ling Xue, who had sensed something was wrong. Her expression turned serious. She had a bad premonition, a feeling that this matter seemed to be related to her. This feeling was very strong. She felt she was probably not mistaken. "Xiao Shui." As expected, Tang Ji began to speak slowly. Her first words were directed at Yu Ling Xue, calling her name softly. The sound made Yu Ling Xue shiver instantly, as if she'd caught a chill. What's wrong?" Yu Ling Xue forced herself to remain calm, smiling as if nothing was wrong. "Lately, have you and your dad? How is your relationship with Vice President Yu? Has he contacted you to say anything?" Yu Ling Xue subconsciously frowned slightly. She hadn't expected it to be something related to her father. In that case, it wasn't too strange. Her father must have been up to some new trick. "No. A while ago, he kept calling me, but I knew what he would say, so I didn't answer at all." I can vouch for that. I've been with her the whole time. She hasn't answered her phone, ignoring it every time." Bai Song also nodded, corroborating Yu Ling Xue's statement from the side. He also realized the atmosphere was a bit off. Tang Ji looked at Zhou Heng and gave him a look. Zhou Heng understood and took something out from his coat. "What's this?" "A recording pen." Tang Ji took it, placed it on the table, and continued, "For a while now, I've been trying to investigate Yu Hai. His strange behavior forced me to pay attention. I secretly planted a bug in his office, and now everything is on this recording pen." Then, Tang Ji reached out and turned on the recorder's playback function. "President Yu, what should we do now? If this goes on, there'll be no place for us in Junang. Don't worry. What's there to panic about? I still have a final resort, and it's already in motion." "A final resort? You still have a way to turn the tables?" "Of course. Even now, things are still under my control." "How do you think that kid from the Bai family knew Xiao Shui was in danger?" "It was Xiao Shui's plan, of course. She used a fake love letter to deceive him, and sure enough, he took the bait. Now the Bai family and the Lingwen group are successfully at war. This self-injury ploy was used well. It's just a pity my daughter had to suffer." Hearing this, Yu Ling Xue, Bai Song, and Yin Min Gran all showed expressions of utter shock, completely stunned by the recording. Bai Song's head was buzzing, his mind a complete blank, unable to think at all. A fake love letter? The love letter he saw that day was fake, fabricated by Yu Ling Xue in Yin Lingwen's name? Was this some kind of conspiracy to make his family go to war with the Lingwen group? Meanwhile, Yu Ling Xue was full of questions, seemingly unable to understand what the recording was about at all. The voice in the recording was indeed her father, Yu Hai's, but she couldn't understand a single word he was saying. What fake love letter? What plan of hers? What baiting by Song and self-injury ploy? What on earth was he talking about? Pitying his daughter? Was that his line? Did he get the wrong script? When had he ever pitied her? Did he even believe his own words? Hearing this, Yu Ling Xue could more or less guess that this was definitely her bastard father, deliberately saying these things to sow discord. No wonder they were looking at her strangely. But such a clumsy lie, there was no need to believe it, right? Just as Yu Ling Xue was about to explain, the recording pen continued to play. According to the original plan, as long as my daughter gives the medicine I gave her to Mingran to drink, Mingran's baby won't survive. The rest of the plan will be easy. Bang! Hearing this, Yulingxue slammed the table and shot up, extremely agitated, her eyes flashing with anger. She hadn't been too agitated by the previous content. It was obviously fake, and it involved Baitsong. She could explain it clearly, and Baitsong would surely believe her. Not this nonsense. But this last part, saying she was going to harm Mingran, she absolutely could not tolerate. It was too outrageous. It was pure slander, the kind meant to be her ruin. Baitsong quickly stood up, gently patting Yulingxue's back, and said softly, Okay, don't get excited. No one suspects you, right, everyone? Baitsong looked at the other three and asked. Tangji nodded and said, Yes, Xiao Shui. Don't get excited. We won't fall for such a clumsy attempt to sow discord. We also believe you would never do such a thing. It's just, Tangji's words trailed off, and she continued playing the recording. Have you given the medicine to Yulingxue? Did she accept it? She'll carry it with her, in her bag, and find a chance to give it to Mingran any time. Tangji turned off the recorder, looked at Yulingxue, and said softly, See, it's nothing. Zhou was just scared and overreacted. You know Mingran's pregnancy wasn't easy, so he's especially concerned. But he doesn't suspect you, so you don't need to worry. After all, you're innocent, aren't you? Of course. How could I have that kind of... As Yulingxue spoke, she grabbed her bag and dumped its contents onto the table. She couldn't stand being slandered like this, so she was quite emotional, eager to prove her innocence. She had already made a foolish mistake once, listening to her father and trying to drug Zhou. Thankfully, she had stopped at the brink and hadn't caused a huge disaster. How could she possibly do something to harm Mingran? That would make her less than human. Clatter. The contents of Yulingxue's bag tumbled out. There was everything. Makeup, a small mirror, documents, and so on. Clink. Just then, a small vial of potion fell out from the pile, landed on the table, and rolled forward. In an instant, the atmosphere in the private room froze. Everyone's eyes widened, staring at the small vial of potion as it rolled to a stop in front of Zhou. Yulingxue's mouth fell open, her face instantly paled, her eyes wide with terror. What was this? How did it get in her bag? She didn't remember putting anything like this in there. Zhou narrowed his eyes, reached out, and slowly picked up the vial, holding it up to examine it for a long time. Run! The next second, Baitsong suddenly grabbed Yulingxue's hand, about to pull her away. Yulingxue was stunned for a moment, then quickly shook his hand off, saying no. What are we running for? This isn't mine. I don't know why it's in my bag. Baitsong also didn't understand the situation. He didn't know where Yulingxue stood now. Could it really be as the recording said? When the vial appeared on the table, Baitsong saw that Zhou Heng's expression was wrong. At that moment, he only wanted to get Yulingxue out of there quickly, to protect her, without thinking too much. As Yulingxue spoke, she looked at Mingran. The last thing she wanted was to be misunderstood by Mingran. She had made a mistake before. She couldn't possibly make this kind of mistake again. She saw that Mingran's expression was complicated, unsure what she was thinking, but she had placed a hand gently on her own stomach, stroking it. After looking for a while, Zhou put the vial down on the table, looked at Yulingxue, and said softly, Give me an explanation. Zhou was also forcing himself to be calm. He felt he shouldn't be so quick to suspect someone. Maybe he had misunderstood something. After all, they had known each other for so long, and Yulingxue had never done anything malicious. He couldn't condemn her based on a few words from her scheming father. But everyone knew how important Mingran was to him. And what's more, she was pregnant now. In his heart, he couldn't allow even the slightest danger near her. So he was very agitated now, torn between not wanting to suspect Yulingxue and worrying about Mingran's safety. It was only because it was Yulingxue, their friend, that he could still speak normally and ask for an explanation. If it had been anyone else, Zhou would have already taken action, no explanation needed. Eliminating the threat was the most important thing. Everyone was now looking at Yulingxue, waiting for her explanation. But Yulingxue stood there, stammering for a long time, not knowing how to start. She had no idea how that thing got in her bag. She was completely clueless about the situation. I don't know what this is. I don't know why it was in my bag. It's definitely not mine. Yulingxue said in a small voice. She knew her explanation was very weak, but it was all she could say. She knew her explanation was useless, making her sound like she was just being stubborn. If it wasn't hers, how did it get in her bag? It made no sense. But she really didn't know. Baitsong's face was also serious. He said earnestly, I believe her. She would never do something like this. Zhou Heng, we've known each other for many years. You know what kind of people we are? I hope. You believe us. Bai Cong held Yu Lingshue's hand tightly. He said believe us, which meant he was fully on Yu Lingshue's side, supporting her. Yu Lingxue was very moved. She thought Bai Cong was silly, and perhaps this was the proof. Unconditionally supporting, understanding, and helping her, completely disregarding his own interests. So silly. Zhou Heng was also at a loss, not knowing what to do. He wanted to believe them. The recording might be fake, but the medicine. It was in Yu Lingshue's bag. How could that be explained? Not knowing what to do, Zhou Heng habitually looked at Tang Ji, wanting her to help him decide. Tang Ji was also thinking. From what she knew of Yu Lingxue, she knew she would never do such a thing. She must have been framed. This was definitely Yu Yinghai's plot. If it were up to her, she would have declared Yu Lingxue innocent on the spot, but it wasn't her decision to make. She didn't have that right. So, Tang Ji looked at Yin Mingran. The final decision had to be left to Yin Mingran. She and Zhou Heng were just there to unconditionally support Yin Mingran. Yin Mingran let out a breath. She knew it was up to her to resolve this. In fact, she didn't need to think about it, because she had already made up her mind. Yin Mingran picked up the vial and the recording pen from the table, holding them in her hand. She looked at them for a moment, then with a flick of her wrist, threw them to Yu Lingxue opposite her. Yu Lingxue and Bai Cong were startled, but reacted quickly, catching them. This is... Yu Lingxue blinked, looking at Yin Mingran, and asked in surprise, her heart pounding restlessly. But Yin Mingran just smiled faintly and said softly, you could deal with these things yourself. You don't have to explain anything. I believe you. Ran. Seeing the earnest look in Yin Mingran's eyes, Yu Lingxue felt like she was about to cry. She was so touched. This feeling of being trusted by a good friend was truly wonderful, with no need for fear or worry. She had to find a way to repay this trust. All right, if there's nothing else, let's eat. I'm sorry, I was just too worried. You all know my wife's situation. I value her more than my own life. Zhou Heng stood up and explained. Since Yin Mingran had chosen to believe Yu Lingxue, he wouldn't worry about it anymore. They would just pretend this never happened. The recording must have been Yu Yinghai deliberately trying to sow discord. Bai Cong nodded and replied, it's okay, we all understand. If it were me, I would have reacted the same way. He glanced at Yu Lingxue beside him, expecting her to smile in relief, but instead saw her expression was solemn, as if she were deep in thought. What's wrong? Bai Cong asked in a low voice, thinking, hasn't the misunderstanding been cleared up? What is there still to think about? At that moment, Yu Lingxue raised her head, looked at Zhou Heng, and asked, Zhou Heng, can you find a way to get me into Juanheng tonight? As soon as she said this, everyone else was very surprised, looking at Yu Lingxue, wondering what she wanted to do. I can, but what do you want to do? Zhou Heng did have the ability to get Yu Lingxue into Juanheng, but if she was planning something bad, he certainly couldn't turn a blind eye. But Tang Ji frowned slightly. Knowing Yu Lingxue, she had a vague idea of what she wanted to do. You're not thinking of going into Yu Yinghai's office, are you? Yu Lingxue nodded without hesitation. That was exactly what she was thinking. She knew there had to be some evidence in her father's office. He had done so many things. It was impossible for there to be no trace at all. Her father had caused Zhou Heng and the others so much trouble. She should have taken responsibility for it long ago. He had used her as a tool, a sacrifice, almost getting her killed and nearly putting Bai Cong's life in danger. These things were already too much, making her hate Yu Yinghai to the core. And now, he was still trying to destroy her, slandering her, spreading rumors, sowing discord. If he couldn't be happy, he had to make sure she wasn't either. This had made her completely give up on Yu Yinghai. She no longer saw him as a father. Zhou Heng frowned and asked, his office is locked. How will you get in? I know the password. Yu Lingxue nodded silently. After all, she had been that man's daughter for over 20 years. She could probably guess what the password was. No matter what, she had to try. Being bullied like this all the time was not a solution. She had to learn to fight back. She needed to get evidence of Yu Yinghai's ugly deeds, and then strike back at him fiercely. Let him know she wasn't a pushover who could be easily bullied and abused. Now, it was the others' turn to be silent. Zhou Heng took a sharp breath, thinking it was a very bold move. After all, no one knew what was inside Yu Yinghai's office. It was a completely unknown area, and it was unclear if it would be dangerous. Are you sure? Tang Ji frowned and asked softly. She knew asking this was probably redundant, because she had already seen the determined look in Yu Lingxue's eyes. She knew her mind was made up, and her advice would be useless. As expected, the moment after Tang Ji asked, Yulingshu nodded and replied, I'm sure. I'll go by myself. No way. I'm going with you. I don't feel at ease. Baitsong quickly interjected from the side. I'll go alone. Too many people will attract attention. One person is most convenient. Be good and wait for me outside. Yulingshu looked at Baitsong. This time, it wasn't a gentle persuasion, but a very serious command, leaving no room for rebuttal. Baitsong realized this and didn't dare say another word. If he persisted, Yulingshu would get upset. Now no one else dared to say anything. Only Yin Men Gran slowly stood up, looked at Yulingshu and said softly, Be careful. I will. The group ate dinner together. Although they tried their best to liven up the atmosphere, it was still quite suppressed compared to usual. After eating, Yulingshu wanted to set off for Juanheng. This secret agent-like mission made her inevitably a little nervous. If she were discovered, the consequences waiting for her would certainly be very serious. Baitsong's eyes were fixed on Yulingshu, full of worry. He really wasn't at ease letting her go alone, but he didn't dare to object. Arriving at the entrance of Juanheng, Zhou Heng used his authority to open the door, allowing Yulingshu to successfully enter the building. It was Yulingshu's first time in Juanheng. She was extremely nervous, following behind Zhou Heng, not daring to speak, her footsteps very light. At this hour, there were still many employees working overtime in various departments, so Zhou Heng and her appearance didn't attract much attention. Just like that, Zhou Heng led Yulingshu directly to the door of Yu Yinghai's office. This is it. Zhou Heng stood at the office door, looking at the door with a keypad lock, and frowned slightly. Although all their offices now had locks, it was obvious that the lock on Yu Yinghai's office was more sophisticated. 3 wrong attempts, and the alarm will go off. So, you only have 3 chances. I can't stay here. From now on, you're on your own. Zhou Heng had actually wanted to enter Yu Yinghai's office for a long time to see what was inside, but his status didn't allow it. If he were discovered, it would be very troublesome. He would lose the initiative, and his plan to get rid of Yu Yinghai would be ruined. So he couldn't be seen here. It was a way of avoiding suspicion for the sake of better action later. Thinking it over, only Yulingshu was suitable for this task. After all, it was her father's office. Even if she were discovered, it would be a family matter and wouldn't involve others. Okay, thank you. After Yulingshu thanked him, Zhou Heng left. He could go to his own office to wait, and then lead her out after she was finished. Yulingshu stared at the keypad lock, took a deep breath, calmed her mind, and became completely composed. The password the guy would use. It would be one of those few, right? With 3 chances in total, I should be able to figure it out. Yulingshu slowly exhaled, then reached out and began to try the password. A 6-digit code. She planned to first try the bank card PIN. The cards she used before were all provided by Yu Yinghai, and as far as she knew, all of Yu Yinghai's bank card PINs were the same. Yulingshu carefully entered the bank card PIN, 6 digits in total, very slowly, afraid of making a mistake and wasting a chance. Beep, beep. When she finished entering it and pressed the unlock button, an error sound was emitted. This gave her a fright. She quickly looked around and only relaxed after seeing no one was there. The first attempt had failed. She had 2 chances left. This made Yulingshu's heart jump in her throat. So nervous, she barely dared to breathe. If this password is wrong, then maybe a birthday. Yulingshu guessed that Yu Yinghai might have set a birthday as the password. But the question was, whose birthday? First, she could rule out her own. So, she could guess it might be Yu Yinghai's own birthday, or perhaps the birthday of that woman he found later. She only had 2 chances. She couldn't try both. So, she had to lock onto one of them. It must be his own. Yulingshu barely hesitated before settling on one option, Yu Yinghai's own birthday. She knew Yu Yinghai was incapable of doing anything romantic, like setting someone else's birthday as a password. He was an extremely selfish person who only thought of himself, so there was no need to consider anything else. Then, Yulingshu entered Yu Yinghai's birthday. She felt there shouldn't be a problem. Beep, beep. But the error tone sounded once again. Yulingshu's heart skipped a beat. Wrong again. She had wasted another chance. Now, there was only one left. At this moment, the pressure on Yulingshu skyrocketed, almost reaching her head, making it hard to breathe. One more mistake, and she was done for. Finished. Her own fate was secondary. The main thing was that she would drag Zhou Heng and the others down with her. Thinking of this, Yulingshu felt cold sweat trickle down her back, her body trembling slightly. She began to consider giving up, leaving now while there was still a chance. Not to try this 3rd time. but she had just noticed that the records of these unlock attempts had been saved. If she left now, she would still be discovered tomorrow. In other words, there was no turning back. She had to succeed. She couldn't fail. Think. Yu Lingxue started racking her brain, trying to figure out what password her selfish, despicable, sinister, and cunning bastard of father would set. Just then, Yu Lingxue had a thought. Sinister, cunning. Given his personality, he wouldn't set an ordinary password, would he? Any password that could possibly be guessed, he probably wouldn't set. He wouldn't leave a potential vulnerability. Since it's a password, it could be guessed. So, in that case, the most likely thing is... Yu Lingxue's throat moved. Then, she reached out, didn't enter a password, and directly pressed the unlock button. Beep, click. The next second, without any warning, the door opened. Fuck. Yu Lingxue's mouth twitched, and she couldn't help but curse under her breath. She was right. There was no password at all. Just pressing unlock was enough. He was counting on the fact that no one would think of this, that no one would dare to try. The best move is no move. By not setting a password, it became something no one would ever think of. Yu Lingxue took a deep breath, then pushed open the office door and slowly walked in. The office was pitch black, with the lights off, extremely quiet, as if you could hear a pin drop. Yu Lingxue didn't dare turn on the lights, so she turned on her phone's flashlight and slowly began to search the office. Her steps were light as she tiptoed through the dark office, afraid of bumping into something and making a noise. She walked to the side of the desk, and at that moment, her flashlight illuminated something on the floor. Yu Lingxue froze for a moment, staring intently at the object on the floor, a little surprised. When she saw clearly what it was, she frowned deeply. The thing on the floor was a framed photograph. The person in the photo was her. As for why it was on the floor, she could more or less guess. The frame was shattered, as if it had been stepped on, and the photo inside was warped. She didn't even have to think to know what had happened. It was clear how much Yu Yinghai hated her now, to put his own daughter's photo on the floor and trample it. Yu Lingxue no longer cared about these things. Yu Yinghai didn't treat her as a daughter, and she no longer considered him her father. Ignoring the photo, Yu Lingxue went behind the desk, moved the chair, and sat down, preparing to search for any important evidence. She first rummaged through the things on the desktop, but found no clues. Everything on the desk was work-related material, nothing useful. Then, Yu Lingxue turned her attention to the desk drawer. The drawer wasn't locked. She slowly opened it, revealing a pile of documents inside. She frowned, her eyes fixing on one particular file. She didn't know why, but she had a feeling this one was unusual, like some kind of classified document. She took out the file and carefully opened it. She held a few papers inside, shone her flashlight on them, and examined them closely. Poisonous insect. Purchase. Yu Lingxue's eyes widened in horror. In an instant, something seemed to click in her mind. The doctor's examination said it seemed to be a virus contracted after a bite from a poisonous insect. So, that's what happened. I should have guessed. It was him. He harmed my mother. Yu Lingxue instantly crumpled the document in her hand, her shoulders trembling slightly. So angry she almost gritted her teeth to pieces, staring resentfully at the papers. Click. Just then, the office lights suddenly turned on, illuminating the entire room in an instant. Yu Lingxue's mind went blank, a chill running down her spine. She looked up towards the door. Standing there was the person she least wanted to see right now. Yu Yinghai's face was cold and grim. He stared at Yu Lingxue and said in a frigid voice, "What are you doing?" Yu Lingxue and Yu Yinghai stared at each other, their gazes as sharp as knives, as if they were looking at the person they hated most in the world. The temperature in the office seemed to drop to freezing, making it a little difficult for Yu Lingxue to breathe. Yu Yinghai's oppressive presence made Yu Lingxue's heart leap into her throat. Although she had forced herself to be braver, a deep-seated fear of him remained. Yu Yinghai strode forward slowly and said lightly, "I receive an alert the first time you enter the wrong password. I was going to pretend I didn't see it for your sake as my daughter, but you really like to push your luck. Pa, when have you ever treated me like a daughter? You wish I were dead. As long as I'm useless to you, you don't care if I live or die. You ruthless bastard." Yu Lingxue could no longer suppress her inner rage and began to curse at Yu Yinghai. This was the first time in her life she had ever said such things to her father. Because what Yu Yinghai had done had crossed her bottom line, her mother. She had endured being tormented for so long, but this time, he had harmed her mother. This she could not tolerate. Hearing Yu Lingxue's words, Yu Yinghai's expression turned ugly. The daughter he had always controlled was now speaking to him like this, and his heart instantly blazed with anger. "I see you really want to die. How dare you speak to me like that? I not been good to you? If it weren't for me, could you live the life you have now? You would have grown up in some backwater town, gone to a crappy school, eaten poorly, worn rags. I gave you the life of a rich kid. Do you know how many people would kill for a life like this? Were you not satisfied with? Yu Yinghai slowly approached, pointing at Yu Lingxue, speaking in a low, angry voice. Even now, he didn't understand. He had given Yu Lingxue a life that others could only dream of, so why was she still not satisfied? Shouldn't she have dedicated herself to repaying him? Shouldn't she do that for her father? Otherwise, what was the point of raising a daughter? Yu Lingxue trembled with anger. She couldn't believe how unreasonable Yu Yinghai was. He had indeed given her a life others couldn't have, but she had also experienced things others wouldn't. Having to rack her brains to compete in a dog-eat-dog world, living in a world of deceit, unable to trust anyone, having to learn to betray good friends, to use others as tools, and to always be prepared to be used as a tool herself. Keeping her chastity had become a joke. Her body was like a tool for transactions, ready to be sacrificed at any time. Encountering those abnormal people, her life was even in danger. Until now, everything she had done, following Yu Yinghai's orders, was to give her mother a good life, to protect the family she cherished. But Yu Yinghai had targeted her mother, trying to kill her, all to get back at her, to control her. This was the last straw. Yu Lingxue gritted her teeth and said hatefully, "This isn't the life I wanted, and you haven't fulfilled your duty as a father. You're not worthy. I hate you. I'll hate you for the rest of my life. It's all your fault that my mother's leg." Snap! Suddenly, Yu Yinghai reached out with both hands and violently grabbed Yu Lingxue's neck. His eyes were bloodshot, his expression ferocious. Murderous intent flashed in his eyes. "In that case, then go die, you useless piece of trash. I regret raising you." Yu Yinghai roared, the strength in his hands increasing. Cough! Yu Lingxue threw the documents in her hand at Yu Yinghai's face, but it had no effect on him. He was like a man seeing red, determined to strangle her to death. Yu Lingxue grabbed Yu Yinghai's wrists, but couldn't pry his hands off. She frowned, trying to break free, knowing that Yu Yinghai was serious, that he really wanted to kill her. "Dare to defy my orders. This is what happens. If you had just listened to me obediently, this day would never have come. You could have enjoyed wealth and luxury. Never have to worry for the rest of your life. Why wouldn't you just listen?" Yu Yinghai roared furiously, the strength in his hands growing heavier, the veins on his hands bulging. "Tsk." Yu Lingxue's gaze locked downwards, and then she fiercely raised her leg. Bang! That powerful kick landed squarely between Yu Yinghai's legs. Instantly, Yu Yinghai let go of Yu Lingxue and dropped to his knees, his whole body trembling violently, crying out in pain. The sound was heart-wrenching, like a woman screams in a delivery room. After breaking free, Yu Lingxue quickly picked up the documents and tried to run. If she had had more time, she was sure she could have found more evidence. But Yu Yinghai's sudden appearance was something she hadn't expected, and she couldn't search anymore. But finding this one piece of evidence was enough. This trip wasn't in vain. At least it let her know that this bastard was the one who harmed her mother. Fuck. Just like her damn mother. I should have killed them both back then. I knew I shouldn't have been merciful. Yu Yinghai was in so much pain that drool was leaking from his mouth. But even so, he didn't forget to curse through gritted teeth. He crawled across the floor, writhing, reached the desk, and took out a walkie-talkie from inside. Then, Yu Yinghai shouted into the walkie-talkie, "Hello? Hello? Move. Hurry. Don't let her get away. Damn it. You forced me to do this." Then, Yu Yinghai's eyes fell on the safe under the desk. He knew he had no way out. If Yu Lingxue escaped, he was finished. He was already on the edge of a cliff, and Yu Lingxue's final push would send him to his doom. Now, he could only go all out. After killing Yu Lingxue, he had to flee this place. Yu Yinghai reached out and opened the safe. In his rage, he threw out all the messy documents inside, revealing what was at the very back of the safe. A handgun. Yu Yinghai picked up the gun, struggled to his feet, and loaded it. Click. "Yu Lingxue, today either you die, or I do." Yu Lingxue ran down the hallway. She knew taking the elevator would be too slow. She had to run for the stairs. As she ran, she took out her phone, preparing to contact Zhou Heng and the others. She couldn't call the police now. She had broken into Yu Yinghai's office without permission. The evidence was insufficient, and she was no match for him. If she called the police now, she would be the one arrested. "She's here." Just then, 3 or 4 men suddenly ran out from around the corner ahead. Seeing Yu Lingxue, they shouted, Yu Lingxue was so scared she stopped in her tracks, turned around, and ran in the other direction. She absolutely could not be caught here. Otherwise, all her efforts would be for nothing. She ran with all her might, adrenaline pumping, heart racing, her body trembling slightly. She no longer had the mind to do anything with her phone. All she could do now was run faster. After running around a corner, she froze in place. She was unfamiliar with the layout of Juanheng and didn't know which way was correct. Now, she was facing a dead end. With only a window, her eyes widened, her gaze filled with terror. She realized she was doomed. She's here. We got her cornered. Before she could react, the four men ran over, blocking Yu Lingxue from behind, leaving her with no way to retreat. TSK. Yu Lingxue slowly took 2 steps back, but behind her was only a window. This was the 30th-something floor, which meant behind her was only a dead end. The 4 men in front of her weren't particularly burly, but she was still outnumbered. She might be able to handle 1 or 2 of them, but against 4 men, she had no chance of winning. Boss, we've got her cornered," one of the men said into a walkie-talkie. Then, Yu Inghai's voice came from the other end. "Wait for me. Don't let her get away. If she escapes, you're all dead." The men's expressions changed, seemingly unhappy with Yu Inghai's words, but there was nothing they could do. They blocked Yu Lingxue's path tightly, leaving her with no escape, waiting for Yu Inghai to arrive. Yu Lingxue quickly took out her phone. At this point, she had no other choice. It was too late to call the police. Her only hope was to ask Zhou Heng for help. "Hey, what are you doing? Put the phone down." The leader, holding a baton, walked over, pointed at Yu Lingxue, and said viciously. Yu Lingxue couldn't be bothered with that. She was focused on calling Zhou Heng for help. Even if she had to take a beating now, it would be worth it. Not listening, seeing that Yu Lingxue was ignoring him, the man decided to teach her a lesson, raising his baton to strike her wrist. "Stop." Just then, Yu Lingxue heard a voice that filled her with joy. It was Zhou Heng's voice. She hadn't even sent Zhou Heng a message yet, but he had already arrived. The man stopped and looked behind him. He saw Zhou Heng approaching slowly with a dozen people. He had anticipated this situation. After leaving earlier, he had gone to get people and had been watching the security monitors. When he saw Yu Lingxue was in danger, he rushed over immediately. Zhou Heng, a glimmer of delighted surprise, flashed in Yu Lingxue's eyes. The appearance of a friend at this moment was incredibly timely. She had been on the verge of giving up hope. These men were clearly Juanheng employees as well. Seeing Zhou Heng arrive, they were scared out of their wits and quickly moved aside. They knew Zhou Heng, knew who he was, so no one dared to confront him. Zhou Heng walked over and stood in front of Yu Lingxue, watching the men warily. "Yu Lingxue, let's go," Zhou Heng said in a low voice, then prepared to lead her away. The 4 men could only watch, not daring to stop them. Yu Lingxue let out a sigh of relief, the heart that had been in her throat finally settling down. But just as they had taken a few steps, someone suddenly appeared in front of them, blocking their path. "You're not going anywhere." Yu Inghai stood at the end of the corridor, slowly walking over. One of his hands was behind his back, holding the handgun. Zhou Heng stood his ground, frowning deeply, and stared at Yu Inghai, saying, "President Yu, what are you trying to do, stopping me? Well, I don't have the authority to order you around. My father should, right? Or should I give him a call right now?" Zhou Heng had no choice but to bring up his father. Otherwise, he really didn't know what to do about Yu Inghai. Although he didn't know what Yu Inghai had hidden behind his back, his intuition told him it was something very dangerous. He could only do his best to protect Yu Lingxue. If they could get out of this unscathed, it would be a victory. However, Yu Inghai probably wouldn't let them go so easily. When Zhou Heng used his father as a bargaining chip, he felt a little unsure. Who knew if Yu Inghai would just go for broke and completely disregard his father? Yu Inghai stood there, raised his head slightly to look at the ceiling, a smile playing on his lips, and said softly, "Ahem, for a small matter like this, I don't think we need to bother the chairman. Zhou Heng, I think you should know what to do." Yu Inghai's smile was very strange. Then he took out his phone from his pocket, opened it, and played a video. Zhou Heng frowned, narrowed his eyes, and stared at the video. After seeing it clearly, his eyes widened and his legs went weak. MMPH. In the video, Yin Mingran faced the camera, her mouth taped shut and her hands tied, yelling something muffled at the camera. "You!" Zhou Heng's anger instantly surged, his face turning red in an instant. He pointed at Yu Inghai, wishing he could tear him to pieces. He had actually kidnapped Yin Mingran. He had actually calculated this far ahead. Standing behind Zhou Heng, Yu Lingxue was biting her lip so hard it was about to bleed. She never thought Ewing Hai could be such an animal. Ewing Hai turned off his phone and burst out laughing. Ah ha ha. Don't worry, nothing's wrong with your wife. I'm not that stupid. I won't do anything to her. I'm also afraid you'll take me down with you, but can you bear it? As far as I know, the child in your wife's belly is quite precious, isn't it? My only target is Yuling Xue. As long as you make the right choice, I'll release her immediately. I keep my word. Ewing Hai knew he was at a dead end now, but it wasn't as if he had no chance at all. He just wanted to get rid of Yuling Xue, then immediately flee this place, escape overseas, and he would be fine. He would still have a chance to make a comeback. As long as Yuling Xue was alive, he could not rest easy. He didn't dare do anything to Zhou Hong. If something happened to Zhou Hong, Zhou Junyao would hunt him to the ends of the earth. He would surely die, so he had no choice but to kidnap Yin Minggran to threaten Zhou Hong. This was, after all, Zhou Hong's weak spot. Zhou Hong wouldn't dare act rashly. This way, Yuling Xue would lose her support. Ewing Hai, if you dare do anything to my wife, I'll kill you. Zhou Hong was about to explode with anger, his fists clenched, veins bulging, his body trembling slightly, but he didn't dare to move. Even though he was furious enough to want to tear Ewing Hai apart, he didn't dare move, because his weak spot had been caught. I already said, I won't do anything to her, but if you insist on going against me, then I can't guarantee anything. I hope you could distinguish what's most important. Is it so-called friendship, or your wife and child? Ewing Hai waved his hand, sneered, and put on a look of someone holding all the cards. You. Zhou Hong wanted to say more, but he was so angry he didn't know how to speak. Even with a dozen people on his side, and only Ewing Hai opposite him, there was nothing he could do. Just then, Yuling Xue, who was standing behind him, stepped forward. She put a hand up to stop Zhou Hong and said softly, "It's all right, thank you, Zhou Hong." Yuling Xue walked to the front, looked at Ewing Hai with a calm expression, and said, "Let Yin Minggran go, and I'll go with you." Yuling Xue, you. Zhou Hong looked at Yuling Xue with a troubled expression. He really didn't know what to do now. He had clearly come to save Yuling Xue, but now his weakness had been exploited, and he was powerless to act. How important Yin Minggran was to him needed no extra emphasis. He would do anything for her. Yuling Xue turned her head, looked at Zhou Hong, and smiled faintly, saying, "All right, go save Ran Ran. You and Ran Ran must be happy and protect her. Tell her." Yuling Xue paused, then continued, "I probably won't be able to be your bridesmaid anymore. Tell her I'm sorry." Yuling Xue. Zhou Hong looked at her, taking a deep breath, feeling terrible, but he truly had no way to save her. After speaking, Yuling Xue turned around, stared fiercely at Ewing Hai, and walked towards him. "You'll keep your promise, right?" "Of course. I'll release her right away." Ewing Hai took out his phone, did something, then held it up for Zhou Hong to see. "There, I've released your wife. Nothing happened to her. Go get her." Ewing Hai kept his promise. He didn't dare to trick Zhou Hong, so he obediently released Yin Minggran. Zhou Hong let out a breath, pointed at Ewing Hai, and practically gritted out, "You win." Then, Zhou Hong slowly backed away, wanting to leave and get to Yin Minggran's side immediately. He was helpless when it came to Yuling Xue. He had to ensure Yin Minggran's safety first. Only after protecting her could he do anything else. "Yuling Xue, don't give up yet." Zhou Hong left only these words before hurrying away. Ewing Hai looked at Yuling Xue with a bloodthirsty smile and grabbed her arm. "Come with me," Ewing Hai said sharply, then gripped Yuling Xue tightly and left. He couldn't deal with her here. He had to find a secret place to handle it. He was about to eliminate his own daughter, yet he felt not a shred of reluctance, but rather a sense of impatience. Arriving at the company entrance, a car was parked there. Opening the door, Ewing Hai pushed Yuling Xue hard and yelled, "Get in!" Yuling Xue stumbled from the push, turned her head, and glared at Ewing Hai, but that was the only way she could fight back now. She didn't dare do anything else. In the end, she obediently got into the car. The car then took them to an abandoned harbor, a remote place where no one would pass by. Yuling Xue knew what she was facing next. After being dealt with, she would probably be thrown into the sea. This time, surprisingly, she felt no fear at all, very calm, as if she wasn't afraid of dying. Before, she had been afraid because she knew that if she died, there would be no one to take care of her mother. So she was scared, terrified, and didn't want to die. But this time, she no longer had that worry, that fear. She knew someone could take care of her mother. Yuling Xue stood there, gazing at the sea before her, letting the breeze lift her hair. She narrowed her eyes, and a faint smile touched her lips. "Hey, can I make a phone call?" Yuling Xue turned her head, looked at Ewing Hai, and asked softly with a frown. An unhappy expression appeared on Ewing Hai's face. He said coldly, Do you think I'm stupid? You want to call the police? I won't call the police. I just want to call one person, say a few words. You can watch me. If I call the police, can't you kill me anytime? With that gun in your hand. Yu Lingxue lifted her chin, gesturing to the hand Yu Yinghai had hidden behind his back. Yu Yinghai tightened his grip on the gun and said in a low voice, "Humph, for the sake of you being my daughter, I can grant this small request. I'll give you 1 minute. Be quick. Stop saying such disgusting things." Yu Lingxue sneered. Hearing Yu Yinghai say words like daughter now felt ridiculous and sickening to her. Yu Lingxue took out her phone and dialed a number. The phone rang, but no one answered for a long time. She frowned slightly, a look of confusion on her face. She saw Yu Yinghai's expression worsening, so she hung up and chose to send a voice message. She cleared her throat, picked up her phone, and in a gentle, soft voice said, "Bai Tsong, I'm so sorry. Not long after we got together, I have to leave, but the time I spent with you was the happiest of my life. Thank you for letting me experience what it's like to be in love. Otherwise, I'd always feel like something was missing in this life. Ha! Now, I have no regrets. One last thing to ask of you. Take care of my mother. Bai Tsong, I love you. If there's a next life, I still want to be your girlfriend." Okay, I'm done. Yu Lingxue turned off her phone and looked at Yu Yinghai with a calm gaze, her eyes holding no regrets. It was as if she had no interest in what was about to happen. No matter what, she could accept it calmly, even if it meant dying just like this. Seeing Yu Lingxue so incredibly calm, Yu Yinghai felt a little displeased. What he wanted to see was Yu Lingxue kneeling on the ground, begging him for mercy. "Do you know why I divorced your mother?" Yu Yinghai slowly walked up, stood in front of Yu Lingxue, and asked with a sneer. Yu Lingxue looked up, watched him silently, and replied, "I don't know and I don't want to know. I only know that my mom divorcing you was the most correct choice she ever made." Yu Yinghai glanced at her, ignoring what she said, and continued. "Back then, the family was very poor. Your mother and I often argued. I wanted to make big money, to let our family live a good life, to enjoy wealth and luxury. Was that wrong? There was a particularly good opportunity at that time. I had figured out all the steps. Although it involved exploiting some legal loopholes, I had calculated everything. It was absolutely foolproof." Yu Yinghai turned his head sharply, staring fiercely at Yu Lingxue, and said, "But your mother was a coward, insisting that a stable life was enough. No ambition. She refused to give me the family's money. I missed the chance to make a fortune. Otherwise, after that one time, we would have been rich long ago." Hearing Yu Yinghai's words, Yu Lingxue could imagine the scene back then, claiming it was foolproof, exploiting legal loopholes. This was clearly a huge risk. Even if he had made a lot of money, it would have been insecure and could very well have destroyed their otherwise stable family. Yu Lingxue spoke slowly, saying calmly, "My mother did the right thing. I would have made the same choice as her. That's why you two are the same, a pair of ambitionless wastes. You refuse wealth and luxury and insist on living a poor life. It's not that we insist on living a hard life. We just want to be down to earth, to do things we can be proud of, to earn clean money, to do what's within our abilities, not like you, who lacks the ability but still tries to do things beyond your means, even abandoning morals, integrity, and humanity, selfishly thinking only of yourself." Yu Lingxue's tone towards Yu Yinghai was anything but kind. What she said were her long-held, true feelings, things she had wanted to say for a long time. Yu Yinghai stared at Yu Lingxue, his eyes full of disappointment and anger. It was as if he hadn't heard a word she said. Perhaps to him, her words were just nonsense, not worth listening to. He always believed he was right. After all, judging by the results, he hadn't taken the wrong path. He had money, status, everything. And what about Yu Lingxue and her mother? Didn't they still have nothing? Wasn't it obvious who was right and who was wrong? All right, talking this nonsense with you is useless. You're a lost cause. How do you want to die? Yu Yinghai frowned, looking at Yu Lingxue with icy eyes. Yu Lingxue never thought she would hear such words from a father, asking his own daughter how she wanted to die. This was enough to prove he was a monster in human form, having completely abandoned his emotions, with only his own interests in his eyes, no different from a cold-blooded animal. Yu Lingxue's gaze was locked on Yu Yinghai, her mind racing. After a few seconds, Yu Lingxue spoke slowly, saying softly, "A moment ago, I thought about just dying and getting it over with, but now I've changed my mind." "Oh, what do you mean? Scared of dying? Want to beg for mercy?" Yu Yinghai's lips curved into an interested smile. He thought Yu Lingxue was finally afraid of death, didn't want to die, and was about to beg him for mercy. Although he still planned to kill her in the end, seeing her beg him first would be quite satisfying. Yu Lingxue slowly stepped forward, her steps firm, and said coldly, "I've changed my mind. Dying like this will be letting you off too easy. Even if I die, I'm taking a piece of you with me. The moment she finished speaking, Yu Lingxue accelerated, rushing towards Yu Yinghai in an instant. Yu Yinghai's eyes widened. He took a step back and immediately pulled out the gun from behind him. He could see that Yu Lingxue was not joking. Her current state was completely fearless of death. She looked like she wanted to take him down with her. So, after pulling out the gun, Yu Yinghai immediately pulled the trigger. Bang! The muzzle flashed, and a crisp gunshot instantly echoed through the sky. However, the bullet didn't hit Yu Lingxue. At the critical moment, she reached out and knocked Yu Yinghai's wrist up. The bullet grazed her hair and flew past. The next second, Yu Lingxue took off her hairpin, put it in her mouth, bit down, and snapped it in two. Then, she used the sharp end of the broken hairpin to stab at Yu Yinghai's neck. Exclamation point. Yu Yinghai's eyes widened. He jerked his head to the side, trying to dodge, but it was obvious that Yu Lingxue was faster. The hairpin directly cut his skin. TSK. Although it didn't pierce his neck, it still left a deep gash, and blood immediately started to flow. Damn it! Yu Yinghai cursed, swung his arm, and slapped Yu Lingxue across the face. Yu Lingxue was knocked to the ground. She clutched her face, staring hatefully at Yu Yinghai. She only had one chance, but she hadn't managed to kill him. Go to hell! Yu Yinghai raised the gun, aimed it at Yu Lingxue, his finger about to pull the trigger. Woo! Just then, the sound of a police siren came from the distance. Yu Yinghai looked stunned. He hadn't expected the police to arrive at this moment. Boss! President Yu! The police are here. A lot of them. Lots of police. The man on lookout ran over, pointing and shouting. What's going on? How did the police find this place? Yu Yinghai yelled, turning to look at Yu Lingxue, only to find her looking just as bewildered. It seemed it wasn't Yu Lingxue who called the police. Then who was it? Could it be Zhou Heng? But how did he know they were here? How was their location exposed? Get up. Yu Yinghai reached out, grabbed Yu Lingxue, and pulled her up, put her in a chokehold. He pressed the gun to her head. He couldn't kill Yu Lingxue now. He had to use her as a hostage to get away. At that moment, a figure appeared behind a nearby container, its eyes fixed on Yu Lingxue. Zhou Heng opened the car door, got out of the police car, and looked at the harbor ahead, frowning. Hubby, Xiao Shui, will she be okay? Inside the police car, Yin Mingran sat, draped in Zhou Heng's coat, looking at him worriedly. Zhou Heng glanced at Yin Mingran, nodded, reached out to stroke her head, and said softly, she'll be fine. Don't worry, they've arrived. Okay, you be careful too. Got it. Wait for us to come back. Zhou Heng nodded, then closed the police car door and headed towards the harbor with a group of police officers. After picking up Yin Mingran, he had immediately called the police. Once he confirmed Yin Mingran was safe, he had to hurry to save Yu Lingxue. Yu Lingxue saw the crowd of police officers arriving, and walking among them was Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng, is Ranran okay? The first thing Yu Lingxue did upon seeing Zhou Heng was to ask about Yin Mingran's condition. In her heart, she was still very worried. Hearing this, Zhou Heng was taken aback, thinking, you're in such a critical situation, being held hostage, and you're still worried about someone else. Shut up. Yu Yinghai tightened his grip on Yu Lingxue's neck, took a few steps back, pointed the gun at her head, and shouted, don't come any closer, or I'll shoot. The police officers didn't dare act rashly. They had to ensure the hostage's safety. Zhou Heng stood his ground and shouted, hey, President Yu, how about this? As long as you let Yu Lingxue go, we'll pretend nothing happened. You can continue to be the vice president of Juanheng, and we'll continue to cooperate. This was the only way he could persuade him now. He had to get Yu Yinghai to release Yu Lingxue first. Just then, he glanced at the container to the side, saw a figure, and his brows instantly relaxed. Yu Yinghai sneered in response. Do you think I'm an idiot? Can you speak for the law? Stop talking nonsense. He knew there was no turning back. With so many crimes to his name, it was impossible to pretend nothing happened. Even if Zhou Heng didn't hold him responsible, these police officers would never let a criminal like him go free. Now, his only option was a desperate struggle. Escaping from here would be a victory. The men Yu Yinghai had brought were now all under police control. He was the only one left, surrounded, with no chance of escape. His only chance now was to use Yu Lingxue. Zhou Heng, Yu Lingxue, struggling to breathe from the chokehold, managed to gasp out. Don't worry about whether I live or die. Quick, get him. She no longer cared about her own life. She just wanted to bring Yu Yinghai to justice as quickly as possible. Even if she died, it would be completely worth it. Shut up. Yu Yinghai was genuinely scared now. To trade Yu Lingxue's life for his own was simply not worth it. He couldn't die. Don't come closer. One more step, and I'll kill her. Everyone back off. Clear a path for me to leave. Yu Inghai shouted, very agitated, his hands trembling slightly. Facing so many police officers, all poised to act, the pressure on him had reached its peak. How did you know we were here? Who told you the location? Yu Inghai looked at Zhou Heng and shouted in confusion. He truly hadn't expected that Zhou Heng, having just left, could bring a whole squad of police here to catch him. Had he been tracking them all along? We figured it out. Someone among us is good at deduction. Zhou Heng gave a mysterious smile, which made Yu Inghai freeze for a second. What? Just as he was puzzled, a figure shot out from behind the nearby container. Moving at high speed, it instantly rushed to Yu Inghai's side. One hand immediately grabbed Yu Inghai's wrist, moving the gun away from Yu Lingshue's head. Both Yu Inghai and Yu Lingxue were startled. They turned to look and saw the person before them, their faces showing shock. Bai Tsong. A look of pleasant surprise appeared on Yu Lingshue's face. She didn't know why Bai Tsong had suddenly appeared, but in the next second, she realized that Bai Tsong was in danger. The gun was still in Yu Inghai's hand. Bai Tsong, don't! Bai Tsong gripped Yu Inghai's wrist with one hand, forcing it towards the sky, while his other hand struggled with him. Quick! Zhou Heng rushed forward to help. The police officers who saw this also sprang into action, swarming forward at once. Yu Inghai gritted his teeth. Seeing that he was about to be surrounded, his body instantly erupted with its greatest strength, pushing beyond his limits. With a roar, he broke free from Bai Tsong's grip, kicked him to the ground, and immediately aimed the gun at him. No! Yu Lingxue threw herself on top of Bai Tsong, trying to block the shot for him. She absolutely could not let Bai Tsong die. Seeing him die would be more painful than her own death. Swish! At this critical moment, a small object flew from an unknown direction, moving very fast, as if shot from a slingshot. Thwack! The object precisely struck Yu Inghai in the eye, making him cry out in pain. Ah! Yu Inghai covered one eye with his hand, while his other eye looked at the object that had fallen to the ground. He froze for a second. A lollipop! Swoosh! Just then, a rope flew down from a nearby iron tower, and, sliding down that rope, was a person. Bai Tsong shouted, Sister Tang. Tang Ji gripped the rope tightly, swinging down from the tower. The cold wind blew her short hair back. Her eyes were sharp, her lips pressed tight, as she headed straight for Yu Inghai. Yu Inghai had just looked up when Tang Ji's flying kick appeared before his eyes. Bang! Tang Ji's kick connected with Yu Inghai's face. The powerful impact sent his gun flying and his body hurtling backwards uncontrollably. And behind him was the sea. Splash! Yu Inghai's fall into the water created a huge splash, and Tang Ji, due to inertia, lost her grip and also fell into the sea. Tang Ji! Yu Lingshue's eyes widened. She shouted, and before she could even get up, a figure rushed past her. Zhou Heng didn't hesitate at all, quickly diving into the sea. Tang Ji was out of strength. Swinging down from the tower had used up all her energy. Her palms were rubbed raw, and her arm felt dislocated. She had no strength left to swim. She kept sinking, holding her breath, watching the surface grow farther and farther away. In a final second before she closed her eyes, she saw Zhou Heng swimming rapidly towards her. MMPH, brother. Quick, pull them up. Yu Lingxue and Bai Tsong pulled Zhou Heng and the others, who had just surfaced, onto the shore. Zhou Heng had rescued Tang Ji. After getting ashore, Tang Ji spat out a large mouthful of water. Although she tried her best to hold her breath, she had still choked. Luckily, Zhou Heng had been timely and brought her up quickly. Are you guys okay? Yu Lingxue asked with great concern, feeling particularly guilty now. She had been saved again. Last time, Bai Tsong had saved her life, and this time, everyone had. But each time, they had to pay a considerable price. So Yu Lingxue felt very guilty that someone like her was being treated with such kindness. We're fine. Lucky we were in time. Zhou Heng finally breathed a sigh of relief, no longer on edge. When Yin Minggran was kidnapped, he was scared to death. After confirming Yin Minggran was okay, he started worrying about resolving Yu Lingshue's situation, and just now, Tang Ji falling into the water had also made him extremely nervous. Fortunately, everyone was fine now, so he could relax. Yu Lingxue looked at Tang Ji lying on the ground. She was still coughing lightly. Then she raised a hand, gave a thumbs up, and nodded gently. Yu Lingxue smiled slightly and looked at Bai Tsong beside her. Bai Tsong happened to be looking at her too, and they exchanged a smile. Just then, Yu Inghai was also pulled up. He was lying prone on the ground, coughing up large mouthfuls of seawater, his hands cuffed by the police. Yu Lingxue frowned and slowly walked over, standing in front of Yu Yinghai. Yu Yinghai gasped for breath, raised his eyes to glance at Yu Lingxue, then let his head drop limply again, his face filled with despair and unwillingness. He knew this day might come. The moment he took the risk, he had actually prepared himself mentally, but he hadn't expected it to come so quickly, and to be ruined by his own daughter, something he had never imagined. At this moment, a car stopped not far away. The driver got out, opened the back door, and a man stepped out. The driver draped a coat over the man and followed behind him. The man walked step by step to Yu Yinghai, looking down at him from a commanding height. Then he took out a cigarette, had the driver light it for him, took a drag, and slowly exhaled. When Bai Tsong saw the man, he quickly ran over and stood behind him, calling out softly, "Father." The man was none other than Bai Tsong's father, Juanheng's vice president Bai Zheng. Yu Yinghai was being held up by the police. He looked at Bai Zhengji before him, turned his head away, and said in a low voice, "Here to laugh at me? What? We've worked together for many years. Can't I come see you off?" Bai Zhengji sneered, tilted his head, and said flatly, "TCH, hypocritical. After all these years working together, when did you ever look me in the eye? When did you ever think I was your equal?" Yu Yinghai's previously deflated mood flared up again. He stared at Bai Zhengji, his face full of resentment. Bai Zhengji snorted with laughter, his attitude extremely disdainful, as if he had just heard the biggest joke in the world. Bai Zhengji extended a finger and pointed at Yu Yinghai's chest, saying, "You seem to have forgotten how you became a vice president. How many connections you pulled, how many people you begged, not hesitating to kneel, letting people treat you like a dog, having malicious intentions toward all your competitors, backstabbing countless people, climbing over countless heads, your hands stained with blood every step of the way to sit in the vice president's seat." Bai Zhengji paused, chuckled lightly, and continued, "As for me, I was personally invited by Zhou Junyao. He gave me shares. He gave me privileges. Do you think you and I are equals?" Yu Yinghai, like an enraged beast, lunged at Bai Zhengji. Bai Tsong reacted quickly, immediately rushing in front of Bai Zhengji to block him. But Yu Yinghai did not succeed. He was promptly restrained by the police, unable to move. Bai Zhengji, however, didn't move an inch, just stood there watching him with a cold smile. At this moment, Bai Zhengji seemed like a giant, looking down upon the ant-like Yu Yinghai. "You are very capable, but your ceiling is set. This is not a position someone like you should be in contact with. Your ability cannot satisfy your ambition. Reaching this point is already your limit. Be content." After Bai Zhengji finished speaking, Yu Yinghai was taken away by the police. As he was being led away, he was still shouting and cursing, seeming to be on the verge of a mental breakdown, as if he had suffered a huge blow. The police left with Yu Yinghai. Yin Minggran appeared not far away. Seeing them, she quickly trotted over. Seeing that Zhou Heng and Tang Ji were both soaked, she couldn't help but be surprised. "What happened to you guys?" Zhou Heng recounted what had just happened. Yin Minggran's face was filled with worry. Hearing how dangerous it had been, her heart clenched. Yin Minggran quickly took Zhou Heng's coat off herself and draped it back over him. Zhou Heng wasn't wearing an outer jacket and was shivering from the cold. Yin Minggran also found a coat for Tang Ji and put it on her. Bai Tsong and Bai Zhengji stood there discussing something, while Yu Lingxue stood not far away, watching them quietly, her hands clasped in front of her, looking very anxious and uneasy. Normally, she should have immediately gone over to greet Bai Zhengji, but now, her status was somewhat awkward. She was Yu Yinghai's daughter. Her identity was no longer that of a vice president's daughter, but just an ordinary girl completely in a different world from them, separated by countless social classes. She had no right to greet him. Secondly, she was also Bai Tsong's girlfriend. In what capacity should she meet his father? Just then, Bai Tsong pointed at Yu Lingxue and said something. Then, Bai Zhengji was seen nodding, and Bai Tsong ran over to Yu Lingxue. Before Yu Lingxue could say anything, Bai Tsong took her hand and led her toward Bai Zhengji. "Gulmei." Yu Lingxue was stunned for a moment, led by Bai Tsong to stand before Bai Zhengji. Bai Zhengji lit another cigarette and looked at the two in front of him. Uncle. Oh no, Vice President, but hello." Yu Lingxue immediately greeted him nervously, looking particularly awkward, her words timid. Suddenly, Bai Tsong wrapped his arm around Yu Lingxue's shoulders. Yu Lingxue was startled, her whole body trembling as she looked at Bai Tsong in surprise. Bai Tsong revealed a smile and said to Bai Zhengji, "Father, let me formally introduce you. This is Yu Lingxue, my girlfriend." Yu Lingxue was stunned by Bai Cong's words, her eyes wide and her jaw agape. She never expected him to so openly introduce their relationship in front of his father. Was this reasonable? With her current status, she was completely unworthy of Bai Cong. How could his father possibly agree to his son being with a girl like her? Bai Zhengji took a drag from his cigarette, slowly exhaled, then the corners of his mouth turned up slightly into a smile. He nodded and chuckled. I'm good. Xiao Xue is a good girl. You'd better treat her well. You. Yu Lingxue was even more surprised. She hadn't expected Bai Zhengji to actually accept it. Did he not mind her status? Did he not care about marrying into a family of equal standing? In fact, Bai Zhengji really didn't mind. He was even a little happy. At least, his son was now in a relationship with a normal girl. He was already very gratified. You have to understand, a few years ago, his son was into men. He had been worried to death. Besides, with their family's power and status, they didn't care about things like matching social standing. Bai Zhengji didn't expect to gain any benefits through marriage alliances. He didn't care about these things. He was very supportive of Bai Cong's freedom to love. Bai Cong nodded happily and promised, don't worry, father. I'm going to marry her. You. What are you saying? Hearing Bai Cong's words, Yu Lingxue's cheeks flushed bright red in an instant. The blush spread all the way to her ears, her heart raced, and she could barely speak coherently. Good. Bai Zhengji laughed heartily and waved his hand. Afterwards, Zhou Heng and the others also came over and chatted with Bai Zhengji for a bit before he left. It was already the middle of the night, very late, and they planned to go back and rest as well. The events of the evening had left them all physically and mentally exhausted. Zhou Heng, Yin Mengran, and Tang Ji left in one car, while Bai Cong and Yu Lingxue left in another. In the car, Yu Lingxue leaned on Bai Cong's shoulder. Her little heart was still beating fast. She felt like she was in a dream. The long nightmare of being dominated by Yu Yinghai was over. She couldn't help but feel, had her hard days finally come to an end? Were her good days about to begin? Without that kind of father influencing her, she had a good job, so many good friends, and now a good lover too. Bai Cong had just opened his phone and saw the message from Yu Lingxue. A puzzled expression appeared on his face as he tapped on the voice message and played it. Bai Cong, I'm so sorry. Not long after getting together, I have to leave. But the time I spent with you was the happiest time of my life. Hearing the voice message she had sent, Yu Lingxue immediately cried out in embarrassment, trying to snatch Bai Cong's phone, not wanting to listen any further. Her face was starting to burn. Hearing the words she had said back then, she was so embarrassed she could die, wishing she could find a hole to crawl into. Hey, let me listen. Bai Cong held the phone up high, not letting Yu Lingxue snatch it away, and continued to listen. Bai Cong, I love you. If there's a next life, I still want to be your girlfriend. Hey, what are you doing? Hearing the end, Yu Lingxue buried her head, covered her ears, and squeezed her eyes shut, hoping this was all a hallucination. Seeing Yu Lingxue like this, Bai Cong revealed a doting smile. Then, he leaned against the car window, picked up his phone, held down the voice message button, and said softly into the phone, I love you too. This life, the next life, and the life after that, you will always be my girlfriend. The message was sent, and Yu Lingxue's phone received it. Yu Lingxue lowered her hands and slowly raised her head, looking at Bai Cong beside her, her pupils seeming to tremble. Her lips were also trembling slightly, as if she was about to cry. Bai Cong raised his hand and gently caressed Yu Lingxue's cheek, saying with a smile, I will protect you for a lifetime and never let you be harmed again. As soon as Bai Cong's words fell, Yu Lingxue lunged forward and fiercely kissed his lips. Bai Cong was pushed down by Yu Lingxue. His eyes widened for a moment in surprise, but then he slowly closed them, wrapped his arms around Yu Lingxue, and the two kissed passionately in the back. A few days later, Yu Yinghai's case went to trial to sentence him for his crimes. All of Yu Yinghai's criminal records were dug up, forming a huge stack of documents. In the end, even his own lawyer gave up. Ultimately, Yu Yinghai was sentenced to death for numerous crimes, including intentional injury, intentional homicide, smuggling, kidnapping, bribery, offering bribes, and illegal possession of firearms and ammunition. Juanheng was now short one vice president. Yu Yinghai's work was temporarily divided and handled by Zhou Heng and Bai Zhengji. Taking this opportunity, Juanheng underwent another major reorganization. All remnants of Yu Yinghai's influence were eliminated. This time, Juanheng was finally united from top to bottom, with no more factions secretly causing trouble. Life returned to normal, and everyone resumed their stable lives. However, The pressure on some people was growing, and that was Zhou Heng. As the days went by, he had more and more to pay attention to. First, of course, was the increase in workload. He performed very well, but with great ability comes great responsibility, and he had much more to consider. Even though Tang Ji did her best to share his burden, many things still required Zhou Heng's personal attention. More importantly, there was Yi Mingran. Several months had passed, and Yi Mingran's baby bump was already showing. She had a belly. Her work had been reduced again and again. She said she was going to work, but she was actually just resting in the office. Zhou Heng also increased the frequency of his visits to Yi Mingran, coming to see her almost every other day, no matter how troublesome it was. On this day, Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran were leaning against each other, enjoying a quiet moment, when Zhou Heng suddenly received a message. Who is it? Yi Mingran looked at Zhou Heng, asking curiously. Kong Yu. Zhou Heng was a bit stunned. He hadn't expected the message to be from Kong Yu. What's wrong? Does he need something? Zhou Heng was about to speak, but suddenly paused, cautiously glancing at Yi Mingran before saying softly. He said he's getting married and invited us to his wedding. Kong Yu? Getting married? Oh, it's with that girl, right? The one named Yu Jingwan. They're getting married. Yi Mingran said, a little surprised. She still remembered the first time Kong Yu and Yu Jingwan met. It felt like it happened not too long ago, but thinking about it now, it had been about 3 years. She hadn't expected them to be getting married already. Yeah. Zhou Heng responded quietly. He had paused for a second because he realized that although he and Yi Mingran were legally married, they hadn't held a wedding ceremony yet. He and Yi Mingran had been together for so many years. Now, Kong Yu had beaten them to it, getting married before them. Telling Yi Mingran this news, she'll probably be unhappy, right? She's already pregnant, they haven't gotten married in time, and there's no wedding ceremony. When Zhou Heng thought about things like postpartum depression, he swallowed nervously, quickly took Yi Mingran's hand, and said softly, Honey, when should we have our wedding? I'll go arrange it right away, clear out some time. Yi Mingran was taken aback for a moment. She glanced at Zhou Heng and immediately saw through his thoughts, a smile appearing on her lips. What's wrong, honey? Are you worried that I'm also in a rush to get married? Well, not really. I was just thinking we should probably get married. After all, the baby is about to. Zhou Heng reached out and touched Yi Mingran's belly, which now had a noticeable bump. They were also going for regular checkups, and everything was healthy. He felt that since their child was about to be born, wasn't it a bit wrong not to have had a wedding with Yi Mingran yet? Some people still didn't know they were legally married. They had to have a grand, proper wedding to publicly marry Yi Mingran, right? Just then, Yi Mingran leaned gently on Zhou Heng's shoulder and said, It's okay. Let's have the wedding after the baby is born. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event, and I don't want to wear a wedding dress with a big belly. Yi Mingran covered her mouth and chuckled. She didn't have any worries in this regard at all. Ever since she got pregnant, she hadn't felt anxious at all. The thought of carrying Zhou Heng's baby made her so happy she would wake up from dreams smiling. The wedding was bound to happen sooner or later, so she wasn't in a hurry to hold it. She was very reasonable. Holding a wedding with Zhou Heng at this time would only crush him and put immense pressure on him. She wasn't that thoughtless. Besides, she really wanted to have an unforgettable wedding where they could take lots of memorable photos. She could take maternity photos with a big belly, but when it came to wearing a wedding dress, she hoped to be beautiful and slim. So she preferred to consider holding the wedding after she gave birth. Zhou Heng turned to look at Yi Mingran's profile and asked softly, Really? Is that really what you think? Yes. So don't have any worries. Getting married early or late is the same to me. As long as I'm with you, that's all that matters. Yi Mingran looked up, gently kissed Zhou Heng's cheek, and gave a sweet smile. Zhou Heng felt a sense of relief. He gently caressed Yi Mingran's cheek and said, Okay, I understand. We will definitely have a grand wedding then. So, should we go to Kong Yu's wedding? He's invited us. Even if we don't go, shouldn't we at least send a red envelope? We can go. We're all classmates. If someone invites us, and we happen to have the time, of course we can go. Tang Ji and Yuling Xue will probably go too, right? Kong Yu must have invited them as well. Definitely, but they're probably undecided. They'll likely go only if we go. Zhou Heng nodded. He guessed that Kong Yu hadn't invited them yet. He must have invited him first, and would only consider inviting Tang Ji and the others after he agreed, because if he didn't go, the others certainly wouldn't either. We could go and see. This is the first time attending a classmate's wedding. It feels so surreal. I want to see what it will be like. Yi Mingran was quite looking forward to Kong Yu's wedding. She really wanted to see what their wedding would be like. She had fantasized about her own wedding with Zhou Heng countless times, but she hadn't seen many other people's weddings. Okay, I'll let him know then. Afterwards, Zhou Heng replied to Kong Yu. Upon receiving the confirmation, Kong Yu seemed very happy. His replies were quite excited. Subsequently, Kong Yu also invited Tang Ji and Yu Lingxue. They were all his high school classmates, so he invited everyone. After hearing that Zhou Heng would also be there, they agreed to the invitation as well. The wedding was in 3 days at a hotel. Kong Yu sent them all the location. Zhou Heng arranged his work schedule over the next few days to free up that day. On the day of the wedding, Zhou Heng brought Yi Mingran, Tang Ji, and Yu Lingxue to the hotel together. An inflatable arch was set up at the hotel entrance, with the names of the bride and groom, Kong Yu and Yu Jingwan, written on it. The four of them were dressed rather formally and stood out in the crowd, attracting a lot of attention. Zhou Heng, class president. You're here too. Oh my God, class president, you're pregnant? Good heavens. When did you two get married? Why didn't you invite me? At the entrance, they also ran into many high school classmates. Upon seeing Zhou Heng and Yi Mingran, they greeted them enthusiastically. They were shocked to see that Yi Mingran was pregnant, and almost everyone let out a gasp of surprise. Yi Mingran's face was brimming with a happy smile as she greeted everyone cheerfully. She was already happy to see her former classmates, and now that she was Zhou Heng's wife and carrying his baby, she was even more eager for her classmates to know and see. Long time no see. You guys. The group looked up and saw another high school classmate, Liang Jiaxiang. Zhou Heng remembered skiing with Liang Jiaxiang a few years ago when he broke his arm. Back then, there was also that Lu Yunxue, right? Zhou Heng walked up to Liang Jiaxiang, greeted him, and casually asked, "By the way, where's Lu Yunxue? Are you still in contact with him?" Upon hearing this, Liang Jiaxiang shook his head with a helpless expression. A year ago, he was imprisoned for a crime, sentenced to 20 years. Oh, upon hearing this, Zhou Heng couldn't help but frown, looking somewhat surprised. The others also had faces full of disbelief. A classmate getting married or being pregnant was already novel enough, but now there was one who was in prison. Yes, that's right. Apparently, he was doing a job for a rich man and was betrayed, becoming a scapegoat. I visited him in prison. He's really fat now. Liang Jiaxiang recalled his previous prison visit. When he saw him, he thought he had found the wrong person. He couldn't believe that the former PE representative, who used to be in such good shape and quite handsome, had fallen to such a state, now fat and decadent. Is that so? Well, I guess he got what he deserved. Zhou Heng felt no sympathy for him, feeling that his fate was normal and what he ought to get. Yeah, I'd already warned him many times, but he wouldn't listen. Nothing I could do. Yu Lingxue whispered in Tang Ji's ear. Who's Lu Yunxue? Tang Ji leaned closer to Yu Lingxue and whispered back. He was the PE representative in our class before, quite a character. He used to like Ran, then he transferred schools. When we met him later, he got drunk and tried to make a move on Ran, and Zhou Heng beat him up badly. What a character indeed. Yu Lingxue couldn't believe someone would dare to make a move on Yi Mingran. Didn't he know how important Yi Mingran was to Zhou Heng? So far, anyone who had made a move on Yi Mingran had met a bad end, either dead or injured. Liang Jiaxiang walked in with the group. The banquet hall was already filled with many people. They found a table for their high school classmates and, at a glance, saw their homeroom teacher, Teacher Wang, sitting there. Teacher Wang, Yi Mingran called out excitedly. She hadn't seen Teacher Wang in a long time, though she often saw her daughter. Hearing the voice, Teacher Wang looked up and saw Zhou Heng, Yi Mingran, and the others standing there. She was momentarily stunned. Then her face lit up with surprise and joy. "Oh, you all came too. Quick, over here." Teacher Wang immediately stood up, beckoned them over, and pointed to the seats beside her. Zhou Heng and the others walked over and sat down next to Teacher Wang. Teacher Wang sat down, looking Yi Mingran up and down with an expression full of affection. Seeing Yi Mingran's belly, she sighed, My, already pregnant. Time flies so fast. My obedient and sweet little class president is going to be a mother now. You probably haven't had your wedding yet, have you? If you don't invite me to the wedding, I'll be upset." "Of course not, Teacher Wang. We haven't had it yet. When we do, you'll be the first one we invite. How could we possibly not invite you?" Yi Mingran laughed, enjoying her conversation with Teacher Wang. However, seeing that she seemed to have aged noticeably over the past few years made her feel a little sad. Teacher Wang suddenly lowered her voice and whispered in Yi Mingran's ear, "My daughter told me everything. Thank you for taking care of her. I never thought my students would become so successful. You are truly your teacher's pride." "It's a small matter, Teacher Wang. It's mainly because she's very capable at her job, has a serious attitude, and is a good person. Isn't that all thanks to your good teaching? I just gave her a little help. It's nothing. Mingran truly felt it was no big deal. She actually wanted to help more, but it wasn't her company, and she couldn't use Lu Wei's influence to overly use her privileges, as it would cause dissatisfaction among others. You're too modest. But knowing you all are doing so well now, I can rest assured. Teacher Wang glanced at Zhou Heng and the others, nodding with a smile. Her eyes were filled with pride. As a teacher, having taught so many promising and capable students was a source of great satisfaction and contentment. They chatted a little more, and Teacher Wang suddenly brought something up, looking at Mingran's belly and asking, "Have you picked a name for the baby yet?" About that. Mingran turned to look at Zhou Heng. They both realized that they hadn't really thought about it. When she was with Zhou Heng before, she would always let her imagination run wild, thinking about what to name their future baby. But now that she was actually pregnant, she had forgotten about it and hadn't discussed what to call the baby with Zhou Heng yet. "We haven't decided yet. How about it, Teacher Wang? Could you suggest one?" Zhou Heng looked at Teacher Wang, putting forward the idea, wanted to hear someone else's suggestion. Even if they didn't use it, it could serve as a reference. Teacher Wang sighed. "Oh, naming a baby is a big deal. It's a name they'll use their whole life. If it's not a good name, it can have a significant impact on the child. I've had so many students over the years and have seen many parents casually name their children, leading to the child feeling self-conscious and unwilling to say their own name when they start school. Is that so? Then we really should think about it carefully." Mingran also knew this was a very important matter that couldn't be taken lightly. "We don't know if it's a boy or a girl yet. It's fine, no rush. There's still time to name the baby later. You must be very careful." While they were chatting, they heard discussion from the next table. "Why hasn't anyone from the bride's family come? Where's this bride from?" "Who knows? I never asked before. Could it be that her family doesn't care?" "That's possible. After all, for someone to be interested in a kid like Kong Yu, she probably." Although the voices of the discussion were not loud, Zhou Heng and the others could hear them. Hearing it, they couldn't help but frown slightly, thinking how could these relatives and friends talk like that? Speaking ill of Kong Yu and his bride behind their backs? At this moment, Mingran also started to worry about herself. On the day of her wedding with Zhou Heng, her parents would also be absent. Would she also be gossiped about like this? Teacher Wang looked at Mingran and the others and asked, "Do you know the bride? What kind of girl is she?" We do know her, but we've only met once. She should be a very good girl. The first time we met her, she seemed quite honest." Mingran thought of the girl she had once met. Although her memory was fuzzy, her impression was quite good. Then why didn't her family come? Teacher Wang was also rather puzzled. It seemed there were indeed no relatives from the bride's side. She had seen Kong Yu's parents, but not Yu Jingwan's, which made one very curious about what was going on. This, Mingran didn't know how to begin. She had heard the reason before, from Zhou Heng, and learned about the girl's background. Hearing it had made her very sympathetic. She hadn't realized the girl was so pitiful, also without parents. But thankfully, she had met Zhou Heng, and the girl had met Kong Yu. Kong Yu must be treating her very well, otherwise they wouldn't be getting married. So Mingran felt it was better not to say anything, as it wouldn't be appropriate. Maybe they have some unique customs. I'm not sure. Is that so? Teacher Wang didn't press further. She looked at the large screen displaying photos of the bride and groom, her gaze particularly fixed on Yu Jingwan's picture. She saw that the girl indeed looked very honest. In the photos, she was very happy, her smile sweet. "I'll go give the wedding gift first." Zhou Heng took out 2 red envelopes from his pocket and stood up, ready to give the monetary gift. This was from him and Mingran. For the two of them, though it wasn't a lot of money, it was already the thickest red envelope in the entire venue. Tang Ji and Yu Lingxue also took out the money they had prepared and followed behind Zhou Heng to present their gifts. At this time, in the wedding car on its way to the hotel, Kong Yu sat in the back, wearing a suit and a handsome hairstyle. Today was probably the most handsome day of his life. At this moment, he was gazing out the window, looking somewhat dazed. It was his big day, and by all rights, he should be overjoyed, but right now, he was in a stupor, as if he hadn't fully processed that he would actually have a wedding day. As he was still silent and daydreaming, a hand rested on his. Kong Yu turned his head to look beside him. It was his bride. Yu Jingwan was wearing a red bridal gown, looking exceptionally beautiful. The exquisite makeup perfectly accentuated her features. She was originally just an ordinary girl, but today, she was the most beautiful. Yu Jingwan looked at Kong Yu, smiling faintly. She was truly very happy today, a smile constantly on her face, But she could also sense that Kong Yu's reaction was a bit different from hers, as if he hadn't fully processed it. So she was also a little worried that Kong Yu might regret marrying her. Over the years, Kong Yu had given her a lot of confidence, helping her slowly break free from her low self-esteem. They had always been together. When Kong Yu went to school, she would rent a house near his school and live with him. She took care of him in every way, and Kong Yu did not let her down. He proposed to her, wanting to marry her. She still remembered the night of the proposal, how she cried her eyes out. "Honey, will you regret marrying me?" Yu Jingwan took Kong Yu's hand and asked softly beside him. Kong Yu was taken aback for a moment, then smiled, grasping Yu Jingwan's hand and saying, "Of course not. Being able to marry you is the happiest thing in my life. How could I regret it? Kong Yu looked out the window and said softly, "I just didn't expect to have a wedding day. In the past, I never even thought I would have a girlfriend. In my class, I was disliked, ostracized. No one wanted to hang out with me. Whenever I got close, girls would stay far away." He thought back to his school days and felt a little sad, but at the time he had been thick-skinned and didn't care about these things, taking his shamelessness to the extreme. Even when disliked, he remained loud and boisterous. Yu Jingwan had heard about these past events of Kong Yu's. Every time she heard them, she would feel sorry for him, thinking he didn't deserve such treatment. They were the ones being unreasonable. "I know very well how good you are, honey. Yeah, it's because I met you that I made a change. My thinking gradually matured, and I became more responsible. Looking back now, the old me was really annoying. I can't blame others for ostracizing me." Kong Yu knew clearly that it was after meeting Yu Jingwan that he was determined to give her a good life, to be responsible for her, and to cherish such a good girl. Thus, he made a change, becoming much more mature and not so childish and annoying. But back in my high school class, there were only two people who didn't see me as such an annoying guy, who wouldn't ostracize me, who wouldn't look down on me. Kong Yu's train of thought shifted. He suddenly remembered that in high school, there were still some people who hadn't disliked him. Who were they? One was the class president, In Mingran. As the class president, she was very popular and took care of every student. Everyone liked her, and she was always willing to help, never discriminating against me. The other one is the person I often mention to you, Brother Zhou Hong. He and In Mingran are a couple. He wouldn't look at me with that disdainful expression, wouldn't keep his distance. Even though we had a small conflict before, he still treated me as a friend. When I invited him, I actually didn't have high hopes. He must be very busy, but he still gave me face and agreed to come. In Kong Yu's heart, during high school, only these two were relatively good, able to treat him like a human being. Many others didn't. Maybe they've already arrived. Yeah, I hope they don't leave too early. Kong Yu nodded and said with a smile. He still wanted to have a good drink with Zhou Hong. After all, they hadn't seen each other in a long time. He knew Zhou Hong's status was not simple now, that he was a very capable person. He had even wanted to arrive early to arrange a good seat for Zhou Hong and the others. But he could imagine that Zhou Hong would surely refuse. He certainly wouldn't want to be treated so specially. Yu Jingwan murmured worriedly, "Do you think? A lot of people will gossip about me not having any family here. Why do you say you don't?" Kong Yu tightened his grip on Yu Jingwan's hand, looked at her face, and retorted. Kong Yu smiled slightly, his doting eyes fixed on her, and he slowly said, "My family. Aren't they your family too?